Punkai. An réalala carnas. Bích money na that's the hortus.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €185 million.
Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie.
The National Lottery. It could be you.
Discover the hidden gem of Letterkenny, La Papa Kitchen and Coffee House, where you can indulge with friends in delicious Buddha bowls, pastas, light bites and organic coffee. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Remember the name, La Papa, located next to KO Fitness and McGinley's Furniture on Joe Bonner Road. Open 7 days a week, 9 to 5 Monday to Friday and 10 to 2 on Sunday.
The naughty alarm clock. Highland Radio.
There we have it for a Thursday. Guys, do you know,
How was your morning? Did you enjoy the show?
I did enjoy the show. I did, and I was looking at the papers this morning at 6:30, right, and the Farmers Journal. I said, God, it was like no time at all since I looked at the Farmers Journal again last Thursday. The week,
Do you think it's going quick?
it's going quick.
Do you think the year's going quick? Chris Ashmore asked me this, and I says no. I think what I don't think is that I don't think January, February, March, April went slow, but I don't feel like it's quick because we've still got June, July, August, September of summer.
Yeah,
really
we do.
effectively.
I think we've been blessed with this great spell of weather.
Yes.
Do you know, it's kind of like a pre-summer do you
Yeah,
know,
it is,
type
yeah.
of thing. It's got us warmed up.
Hopefully, it's not all we get, but if it is, I'm all right.
But sure,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
happy.
like,
I'm
yeah.
quite happy too. Could you have that weather all? Could you live in that weather all the time?
Yeah, you could. It's not
Could
too
you?
warm yet.
But it was
definitely
warm,
Could.
do you
Yeah,
know?
but no, I could. I wouldn't like to live in 28, 30 all
But
the
there was
time.
days
Certainly
there
could.
now, do you know, and it was really high, do you know, and you just wouldn't want to be up on the roof tiling or something like that.
Yes.
You're
well,
going,
we'll have to throw that out to the Tylers that are listening to us.
There's a few tailors that wouldn't go on a roof; it would be too warm.
Really?
No, they would.
Okay.
You imagine lifting tiles and, do you know, on a roof.
Sure, I worked out when I was working outdoors all summer.
Oh,
Just
you were
cracked
up in
on
the
with
bog? No, but
it.
see, I don't know.
No,
Hold
different
on.
work, proper work.
No, but you didn't do no work last night.
I did.
I seen photographs, and there was Hudson. He was up there, and I seen no pictures of Greg Hughes. Those
Yes,
you
you
just
did.
shared pictures. I didn't see pictures of you.
Did you not?
No.
All right, okay.
Did you see pictures of you? No, because you weren't there.
My back, I was there. My back
Oh, you're
sore.
backtracking now. Oh, you're back sore from pushing that boat out.
I got some great pictures sent to me. There's a gentleman in Quigley's Point in his late 80s, got his turf home.
Did
in
he?
a beautiful tractor and trailer.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
I'll post it up on my social media. Actually. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
What was it? A 135?
I
Was it?
didn't actually see.
Is it
what
a red
type of
tractor?
tractor
Is it a red
It
or
is.
grey?
It's red.
Blue?
No, I know the difference between an old grey and all.
Aye.
Like,
What is it?
Let me see. What
Be
it is.
30.
Let me
Be a
see.
135 then, wee trailer.
Oh gosh!
All-
Why do I have so much security on my phone? It's in
Oh,
case
come
I
on.
lose
Use
my
your
phone.
fingerprint.
And I want everything to be private. You see,
It's not me
It
littering
looks,
you.
No, it's a modern yoke. Look at it. Looks like a Massey.
Oh, that's a blue.
No, it's
It's
not.
a Ford, is it?
Is it a
It's a
Ford?
blue yacht.
Ah, you're right. It's a Ford. There you go.
There you
But
go.
Look at that man. Look, he's
Let me
happy.
s-
Look,
Isn't he a happy man? Well, fair play to him.
got the turf saved.
So he's got them one. Fair play to him.
All right then.
Good luck.
Thanks, Lee. Have a great day. It's 9:01, just on the button. Let's get a news update. We cross over now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The family of Rebecca Brown, who died after being struck by a Garda patrol car in Buncrana in 2023, says the fight for truth and justice still burns 2 years on. A decision was made last year not to prosecute the Garda involved in the 21-year-old's death. Tara Dugan has more.
Marking the second anniversary of the death of Derry woman Rebecca Brown, her family has placed a wooden cross at the roadside in Ludden, Buncrana, where the 21-year-old lost her life in May of 2023. They say it's a symbol of love, grief and the fight that still burns for truth and justice in Ireland. The family has formally requested a full review of GSOC's decision not to prosecute the Garda involved in Miss Brown's death. They vowed to continue to wait for the truth and say they won't stop asking for it.
The RSA plans to cut driving test waiting times by more than half come September. Currently, learner drivers are waiting an average of 22 weeks for a test date, despite the target being 10 weeks. In Donegal, the current waiting list for a test in Buncrana is 26 weeks, while it will be 21 weeks before you can sit your driving test in Letterkenny and 18 weeks in Donegal town. The Road Safety Authority says it's extending testing hours to weekends and bank holidays, opening more centres and training more examiners to get rid of the backlog. Chief Operating Officer at the body, Brendan Walsh, says the changes have already started to take effect.
the middle of 2024, we had a sanction to have 130 driving testers operating within the state. We've now, with the support of the government and our colleagues in the Department of Transport, we've grown that to 200, which is a significant uplift. Those people are now being trained. The first 41 of them have already been deployed into the service, and another 50 will also be deployed in the coming weeks.
NICAP is denying the terrorism offence one of their members has been charged with. Liam O'Gohani will appear in court in the UK next month following an anti-terrorism investigation into one of the group's shows. Liam, also known as Mokhara, is accused of flying a Hezbollah flag at a concert. The band says the move is political policing and a carnival of distraction. Taoiseach Simon Harris says there's a clear difference between supporting Palestine and supporting Hezbollah or Hamas.
I won't comment on the specifics, but on the broader points that you make, I mean, I don't think we should conflate Hamas or Hezbollah with the cause of the Palestinian people. I mean, Hamas, to take Hamas first, I mean, Hamas is a despicable terrorist organisation. It carried out a brutal terrorist attack in Israel that has been condemned by Ireland and all right-thinking people. They offer the people of Palestine no future of hope or positivity.
Weather now dry today with sunny spells developing throughout the day. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
No one knows your financial needs better than you. But when you're looking for answers in areas like how to protect your family with life insurance or saving into your pension, it helps to get advice from experts you can rely on. At Irish Life, we've helped generations of people with trusted financial advice to protect the important things in life. Search Irish Life or speak to your financial broker or advisor. A better life with Irish Life. Irish Life Financial Services Limited trading as Irish Life is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Irish Life Financial Services is an insurance intermediary tied to Irish Life Assurance for life and pensions. Irish Life Assurance plc trading as Irish Life is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till Noon Show. It's nearly 5 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 22nd of May, 2025. It's good to have you on board, and we've got the usual mix over the next 3 hours. We'll cover some of the big issues and stories affecting our region and further afield. We'll get lots of views from our listeners and our viewers, which we very much welcome. And we'll have chats with different people about their lives, what's affecting them, maybe issues that need platforming. That's what we do every day here on the 9 till Noon Show. And I'll tell you how you get involved. WhatsApps and texts to 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. And I was chatting to a few people up in Carndonagh, some regular listeners there on... what day was it? Monday? What day we were up there? What day is today? I don't know. Tuesday. And they were saying, "Oh, listen, love the show. Never text in though," and that's fine. But I says, "Well, do text in. I'd love to hear your view, and love to get your opinion on things, because every person's opinion is as equal as the next. No one's trumps anyone's. If I say something, I'm not elevating my view above someone else's. Everyone's view is equal, so we respect them all and love to get them all in. 07491 25,000 if you prefer to call. And also, too, there's an option there to send your voice notes to WhatsApp, by the way, because not everyone is fantastic at spelling or writing. And you want to get your views across, send us a voice note, 086 60 25,000. And of course, you can watch the programme, as many of you do, and we do appreciate your support every day. If you work from home, living in the home, or just at home, you can open up your smart TV. Most TVs now have the YouTube app built in. Just type in Highland Radio Ireland and watch us there. Or if you have a Fire Stick, as many of you do have as well, the YouTube app is there. And we're also on our Facebook pages and on the X platform. So it's just really about giving you as many ways as possible to be involved in the programme and to consume it the way you wish to do so. The papers this morning, the Tyrconnell Tribune, CAP plans grim future for Donegal farmers. That is the red flag warning from farmer lobby groups in the suckler sector in Donegal, as the age-old tradition continues to take a real battering from several different directions. Plans emerged about the predicted cuts in the EU farm budget in 2028. They come on top of the imminent import of 99,000 tonnes of beef per year from Latin America in the Mercosur deal. These are among the big concerns across all farming interests, and the cap on nitrates is feeding into the problems being encountered across the country. Many in farming see CAP post 2028 as a done deal. They are the last ones to know. Without the Western Seaboard, where suckler cattle are the industry mainstay, the fear is that any loss in the farm budget will be catastrophic, with predictions that 50% will be forced out of farming permanently. Start warning. There's more on CAP in the Farmers Journal. I'll get to that in a moment. In the Dairy People Donegal news this morning, how much is taken in from speed vans in County Donegal? Well, it's a pretty penny, and it's coming directly out of your pockets. More than €1.5 million in revenue has been generated from fixed charge notice issued for speeding offences in Donegal since 2019. Since 2019. So we're 6 years on. 1.5 million. Not a bad little return, is it? Figures obtained by the Donegal News through the Freedom of Information Act show 1.5 million and change in revenue has been generated from fixed charge notices for non-intercept speeding offences in Donegal Division. The revenue relates to a total of 15,150 fixed charge notices issued. The figures are based on incidents which occurred from January the 1st, 2019 to May 13th, 2025 inclusive. In the first 5 months of this year to May 13th, a total of 2,698 fixed charge notices, the largest number in the 6-year period, were issued, generating revenue of €281,200. So that's just so far this year up until the start of May. Almost 300 grand collected in fixed charge notices. This is all from Go Safe vans. I presume the Garda figures are in addition to that. But 2,698 of us, not me, but us, caught speeding. That's a lot of speeding offences, especially considering that, you'd be hard pushed to miss one of these speed vans. But the fact that so many people have been done by these speed vans, it does point to a bit of a culture of being heavy-footed, I think. And we know speed is a huge contributor to fatal collisions. So there's a lot going on in that story. Of course, a lot of money, 1.5 million over 6 years out of your pockets, but also 6.5 years, but also 280,000 so far this year alone. And 2,000 people caught speeding. 2,698 people caught speeding by Go Safe vans this year alone in Donegal. That's worrying, I think. The Dairy News this morning, the Irish government remains committed to the 1 million ring-fenced for Derry's North Lands Addiction Treatment Centre in the January 2020 New Decade New Approach Agreement. NDNA is an international agreement between Irish and British governments and the political parties in the North. Answering a written Dáil parliamentary question from Aontú leader Peadar Tóibín, Taoiseach Simon Harris said the Irish government remained fully committed to the full implementation of the agreement. On to the Irish Independent this morning, and the chief suspect for the murder of Kerry farmer Mike Gain has insisted that he had nothing to do with his death. The suspect also refused to answer any questions put to him by Gardaí when he spent more than 32 hours in custody after his arrest on Sunday afternoon. This is according to information provided to the Irish Independent by a number of sources familiar with the reclusive murder suspect. One source said he took a no-comment stance throughout the process, which is his legal right. The suspect is back in his accommodation in Tralee and has absolutely no intention of fleeing or going anywhere at this time, the source explained. He was arrested by Gardaí around 36 hours after suspected parts of Mr. Gaines' dismembered body were found on his own land at Carrick East near Kenmare on Friday evening. Or I presume the local community know who the person is that was arrested. Obviously, on a national level or in a media sense, you can't publish that information, nor should you, until such time as the Gardaí have built a strong enough case to find whomever is responsible. But he's getting an awful lot of attention from the media. This man took a no-comment stance throughout the process, which is his legal right. Many things were put to him, but he had nothing to say before he was eventually released without charge on Monday night, the source added. However, he completely denies any involvement in this alleged homicide. The Irish Independent can also reveal that the suspect, who is aged in his 50s, has previously engaged with Gardaí in relation to the case. Mess around and find out, I think, is a situation for one member of the Kneecap band. They are a three-piece Irish language rap band, and a member of that Belfast rap trio, Kneecap, has been charged with terrorism offences. Liam O'Hanna, who performs under the stage name Okara, has been charged by the Metropolitan Police with displaying a flag in support of Hezbollah, an illegal organisation in the UK, at a gig in London last November. In a statement yesterday evening, the force said the 27-year-old from Belfast had been charged via postal requisition following a counter-terrorism investigation. He's due to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on June 18th. The Met Police said Mr. O'Hanna is accused of displaying a flag at the O2 Forum in Kentish Town, North London, on November 21st, 2024, in such a way or in such circumstances to arouse reasonable suspicion that he is a supporter of a prescribed organisation. Now, this is a complex case. Very foolish, I think, for them to be waving Hamas and Hezbollah flags, given the fact that it is pretty illegal, completely illegal in the UK. That being said, there's a lot of flags knocking about. There's a lot of flags associated with organisations that are deemed illegal by the UK government that no one's going to be charged with. In fact, in the 6 counties, you will see flags in support of proscribed groups, as they're called, illegal groups. So, to be fair, the PSNI is going to have to be very, very busy. Or is this just one person being singled out because they have a high profile and a powerful anti-Israel voice, and they are going to be, held as an example? It kind of distracts from the bigger picture. Waving one flag versus, tens of thousands of children being killed. But what do you think? Is this a mess around and find out situation, or is it a politically motivated move to try and cancel the band, get their gigs cancelled, get them quiet? What's your views? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call us on 074 91 25,000. A reference to Farmers Journal. There are growing concerns that farm schemes worth over 750 million a year to farmers could be scrapped in the next cap. Farm organisations have sounded the alarm bell that the schemes funded under Pillar 2 of the cap could face the chop on the back of EU plans to merge farmer funding into a single EU-wide budget. The schemes at risk include the ANC, which is worth €250 million per year, Acres, Suckler and Sheep schemes, and TAMS. However, Pillar 1 funding, which is worth approximately $5.97 billion to Irish farmers, and fund schemes such as the BISS Eco scheme, front-loaded, and the Young Farmer scheme is not believed to be under threat, but there is certainly a pillar of that funding that seems to be very much in doubt. And one of those strange stories from the world of politics, maybe not so strange, the Irish Daily Star. A TD has been critical, or who has been critical of the government over wasteful spending, asked for a lazy boy recliner for his Leinster House office for breaks and informal meetings. Independent Ireland TD Kenneth O'Flynn has been at loggerheads with Oireachtas management over delays in getting his office fitted out since he was elected. In an email in mid-February to Facilities Management, Mr O'Flynn looked for 10 separate items for his parliamentary office to enhance the workspace's comfort and functionality. That included a lazy boy recliner as comfortable seating for use during break periods and office meetings, with such seats often selling at well over $1,000. You can get them for much less than that too. But anyway, I hope now they go through all of the correspondence from all of the TDs and not just one, because that would be fairer, wouldn't it? Right, anything there that you want to talk about? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Now, I just want to mention that Donegal GAA, in association with the Donegal Business Network and Donegal Association, are hosting a summer fundraising barbecue in the Harcourt Hotel, Dublin, on Wednesday the 28th of May at 6 p.m. with special guest Jim McGuinness. Compare for the evening is Donegal TV personality Ciara Doherty, raffles and auction on the night, and all proceeds to the Donegal GAA Team Training Fund. Tickets are limited for the event. More details on the Donegal GAA social media channels. Obviously, many of you are familiar with the Harcourt Hotel. I'm not sure, would you travel down to that? Maybe, why not? Make a night of it. Cheap accommodation, comparatively speaking, on a Wednesday night. But anyway, I know lots of you listen in from Dublin and just have to nip across the city to attend that. An email we received from a listener called Deborah. Dear Greg, could we talk about the ongoing bullying in secondary school? My son was physically assaulted today and required GP assessment for head injury and possible spinal injury because he has long hair and sometimes paints his nails. I was shown the CCTV footage of the incident and the boy could have given my child a spinal injury. At the moment, he's bruised and he's sore. I find it disappointing and disturbing that this bullying and physical assault is taking place in our schools, also against ethnic children who are living in our community. Kind regards. So, how big an issue is bullying in secondary schools? I think that the concern I have is that it can vary from school to school. I know personally some schools that are really tough on this stuff, and whomever was found to be responsible for that would face serious sanction. And you keep doing that, and it creates a culture where you're less likely to see it. Are some schools, less proactive in that regard? No one, for any reason, should be treated like that, and it's horrible. And he's going to hate going to school. And it's going to affect his studies and, his well-being. But anyway, if you have any views on that, please let us know. Back after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Great news for Expressway Route 32 passengers. From May 25th, Expressway is increasing services to 12 daily departures between Letterkenny and Dublin, including stops at Monaghan and Dublin Airport. Catch the new midnight departure from Letterkenny, perfect for early morning flights. And a late evening service from Dublin to get you home after catching up with friends. Enjoy free Wi-Fi, power sockets and comfortable seating. Visit expressway.ie to view the new timetable and book your journey today. Expressway, way better.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Calling all self-builders and rebuilders. Are you planning to build an A-rated energy-efficient home? Join Castle Forums for a free information day this Saturday at the Clannery Hotel, Letterkenny from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Build faster, warmer and more cost-effectively with ICF walls and insulated foundations from Castle Forums.
This Friday is Guide Dog Day. At Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind, we need your support to change more lives. Visit guidedogs.ie to donate, join a Take the Lead walk, or be in with a chance to have dinner with Roy Keane. Guide Dog Day, sponsored by Park to Travel.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Try more alfresco flavours for less with Lidl Plus. Cue the barbecue with fish, Board B approved meats or poultry, 3 for €9. Serve the Spud-tacular with deluxe baby potatoes, 43% off now 79 cent. Scan your Lidl Plus app and enjoy more for less when you go full Lidl this summer.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is 21 minutes past 9. So yesterday on the show, around about this time, I was chatting to Councillor Declan Meehan about certain services at Letterkenny University Hospital. And it was also covered in the newspapers yesterday that a senator had said that, a gay senator had said that he feels less safe in this country, particularly in cities, that, walking around holding hands with his partner, less likely to do so. And this is a changing attitude. And through the conversation with Declan Meehan, teasing it out, I just wondered if, the conversation that's happening very, very powerfully in the United States and Britain about the trans community is affecting all people that are in that LGBTQ plus community. Because there has to be a reason for why attitudes are changing right now. I just want to say in advance that the trans community is tiny, less than 1%, and I really genuinely wouldn't want to do anything that makes anyone's life any more difficult, especially a minority, an extreme minority group in terms of numbers is what I mean by extreme. But anyway, the conversation more generally, and if it's happening, if that's the reason, we have to talk about it, right? that commentary or that conversation caught the ear of Pippa Black, who's with me on the programme now. Pippa, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, and it's nice to speak to you. And I was putting it to Councillor Meehan that, a lot of the conversation around trans people is about, women's spaces and access to women's spaces. And the Supreme Court ruling in Britain now has made that really quite clear in defining what a man is, what a woman is, and who has what access to what spaces, or at least some people see it as being very clear, others may not. And this sparked a message from you, Pippa. What point do you want to make?
Well, my point was actually the framing, the story that we actually hear the story a lot, that trans women might make cis women and girls feel uncomfortable. And the changing room in a swimming pool is usually the setting for this kind of narrative. Now, what strikes me is most of my trans friends and family members would actually avoid swimming altogether rather than find themselves in that horrible situation. You had someone just on before about bullying. Gender non-conforming people are at more risk of bullying and abuse and violence. So it's a really scary and horrible space for those women. So they would, as I say, they would rather not swim than deal with that kind of situation. So the solution is very simple. Modern pools have private changing cubicles, family-sized ones, individual-sized ones. Everybody's privacy should be respected. Everybody should have access to a pool. I was talking to one of my family members yesterday, and she was saying that she took her baby swimming recently, and you had to access the pool through the changing spaces. So you get to reception, and you have a choice, boys or girls. Now, how do non-binary people get to the pool and feel safe? There's no option. You just said trans is a tiny percentage, less than 1%. This is true, but 1.7% of people are intersex.
Yeah.
So we've got to think about inclusion.
Yeah, of course we do, but we also have to think about everybody's rights, because there are competing rights here, Pippa.
Exactly, everybody's inclusion.
Exactly.
So privacy for everybody.
Yeah, but we talk then about the small amount of people that are trans women, for an example, okay? Do you believe that they should have equal access to women's and girls' spaces, even if within those spaces there are cubicles, but do you believe that that's where trans women belong, in women's and girls' spaces?
I think the problem when you're talking about something like access to a public facility like a swimming pool is having to choose between women's and girls' and men's and boys' spaces. It doesn't suit a lot of people. And not having privacy doesn't suit more than just trans women. There are anybody whose body differs from the norm would be uncomfortable in non-private changing. There's a lot of women who don't swim, for example, after having a mastectomy, because they can't get the privacy they need to feel comfortable. So it's not just about trans women, it's about everybody's access and privacy. If you think of a modern changing facility, the swimming pool, all genders go into the same space with private cubicles. You're not having to make that choice. That choice doesn't need to exist. It's not a problem with an individual.
Yes, but if you're
talking
then,
it's fixable.
Yeah, but if you're talking then about sort of gyms, right, or you're talking about hotels, or you're talking about pubs and restaurants, there's an awful lot of spaces where it's clearly, a women's space and a men's space.
Yeah, we need to stop this. We need.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
We're not going to have. Actually,
Yeah, go ahead, Pippa.
No, I was recently in New Zealand. We have unisex bathrooms throughout towns and cities. It is possible to stop doing this binary. This court ruling in Britain is actually very dangerous for trans people. Imagine a trans man. Under that ruling, he now has to use the women's bathroom. So he's going to get confronted as being in the wrong bathroom. He's going to be bullied, abused.
You think women would?
People.
Do you think if a trans man who would just, so we're clear with the language and listeners understand, that someone that was born a female, you think that person would go into a women's space and be bullied and harassed?
Absolutely. A woman's going to turn around and see a man in her space.
Right. So why then? So that's the experience of one trans man, okay, who might get abused by these women in this women's space. Yes, sorry, I might misstep, but it's not intentional. What about the entire population of women who then would have to accept a trans woman, a person born a male, in their space? Why should they have to? Women's rights were so hard won, and that battle continues. Why should they have to accept this situation to effectively appease the feelings of someone who was born a man? It's another situation, is it not, of men having one up on women, even if they identify as a woman? Not being argumentative, Pippa, I just want to tease it out.
No, there's something very key that's being missed here. Trans women are women. We're talking about women. We're all women together. We all face discrimination together. We all face abuse and violence, largely from cis men. Now, here we go. It's not all men. Like, that's a trope. It's not all men, is it? But trans women are being vilified.
But do you think women are okay with that, Pippa? Do you think women are okay with sharing their space with trans women?
Most of us, I think we are.
Are you sure it's not a case that? Are you sure that it's yes? But are you sure it's not a case that women's silence is being treated as acceptance? In other words, women don't want to challenge. They don't want to challenge someone who quite often may not pass as a woman. You know, I'm not being cruel, but that's possibly the case. Are you sure their silence and perhaps fear of confronting them is not being because it suits, is not being treated as acceptance?
Truthfully, I object to the whole setup, the whole social setup that makes people choose. You know, a lot of trans people face bladder problems because they will not even use a bathroom. It's too fraught and difficult. So they hold on till they get home. And we're not thinking, we're not being inclusive, we're not being a caring society when we make these distinctions. And
I think,
we're
though,
better than that.
Most people, even removing sort of the trans people from the conversation, you know, I think most people want their own spaces. I don't particularly want to be going into toilets with women in, and I'm sure most women listening don't really want me going in there, even if there's cubicles.
If there's a long queue, I will go into a men's toilet.
Well, I've seen that too. Not you, Pippa, but I've seen that. Okay, so I mean, obviously,
choice is ridiculous.
Obviously, you know, part of this as well is about what is a trans woman. In Britain, that's kind of being defined. In Ireland, it's almost that you can self-declare, right? And there is hoops to jump through, but it's quite simple. But for you, what makes a someone who's born male a trans woman? You know, do they have to be going through hormone treatment? Do they have to have, you know, gender affirming care, or is it simply someone who feels they're a woman?
I think my background is sociology, so I kind of had for a long time the idea that sex is biological. It turns out that biological sex isn't binary; it's bimodal because we have this 1.7% intersex. The topic of my dissertation at the moment is the intersex, right? So it's not actually binary, but okay, sex is biological. Gender is a social construct. And what was missing in my paradigm is that there's another side of gender which is psychological. It's internal to the person, and you know who you are. You know if you're a man or a woman or neither. You know that in your core, and that's what makes a person trans. When who they know themselves to be doesn't match what they were assigned when they were born. Yeah.
So, but I mean, we have to also work in the construct that we have male and female spaces. So.
But you know, we're not.
I know, but that's that's what
male and female.
No, I understand.
You know what
I do understand that, of course. No, but my point is in
surgeries on babies, intersex babies, to make them conform to this binary that's not a biological reality.
Well,
we've got to stop thinking this way.
So, Pippa, we do have men and women's toilets for the most part, right?
We do.
And there are unisex toilets, and so that's the way it is. So that's the space we have to. That's the structures that we have, right? We can't even get a toilet in Letterkenny for people to go in and use a public toilet. So you know, to think that we're going to end up revolutionising the way we have toilets is a long way off. From what you're saying, Pippa, is that somebody who actually may present male, but with every core of their being, they believe they are female. Okay, you are of the view that they can walk in and use the female changing facilities at Orra Leisure Centre. Do you understand how some people might have a difficulty with that?
Well, again, I would prefer that everybody had privacy.
Yeah, but that's not the way it is. That's not the way it
that.
is. That's not the way it is. So you've got young girls and women, and according to your belief system, Pippa, that person can actually present masculine or male, but if they believe within themselves that they are female, they can go into the women's and girls' changing room in the Orra Leisure Centre. Do you understand how that's too much for some people?
Yes, but you're locating the problem in the individual, and it comes with this kind of wolf in sheep's clothing narrative, which is very unfair to trans people who are more likely to be bullied than be a threat.
Yes,
Much
but the
more
people
likely.
who are most
There's
likely to
great
be a threat,
article, actually.
but Pippa, the people more likely to be a threat, right, are perverted men
Yes,
who are
absolutely.
adopting that identity. You see, and why should
Yeah, but
women
there's
have?
no
Why
evidence
should
that
women
that
have to
ever
roll those
happened.
dice? Pardon?
There's no evidence. I mean, Dirk Meehan was pretty clear on that yesterday too. There's no evidence that has ever happened.
There's no evidence
So-
that. Yeah,
that
but
people posing as trans.
But you're asking
are
an
causing-
awful, yeah. But you're asking that's a big leap of faith you're expecting for an awful lot of women and girls and their partners if they're male who might have concerns. That's a big leap to say, well, it hasn't been a problem yet. And you know,
Alternatively, you're limiting access and inclusion for a whole group of people based on a fear of something that has actually never happened.
yeah. But conversely, you're also asking half of the population to accept themselves feeling uncomfortable for that very small group of people who want to use those spaces.
Rosalind McDonough wrote a fantastic article about public bathrooms where she said trans people are welcome in my accessible bathroom. And I think that's it. It's the real question here is accessibility.
Yeah.
How do we make everybody feel safe and comfortable?
But
And
for
we can do that.
for looking into it, like sort of not my understand, and I mean, listen, you know, obviously in a program like this, I'll look into certain things. Some very vocal trans people, like India Willoughby, for an example, and there are others as well. They don't want gender neutral toilets or changing facilities because that's not gender affirming. They want to be able to access women's spaces. So, you know, that's coming from the trans community themselves. They want to use spaces that members of. They want to use facilities that affirm the gender that they feel, and gender neutral toilets don't do that. So they're opposed to that, and that's from some members within that community. Those members actually with quite a high profile.
Obviously, there are other members in that community who are themselves non-binary, and if there wasn't a choice of male or female, that particular objection goes away because there is nobody using female toilets and there is nobody using male toilets because they don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think this is all going? Because there does seem to be a major pushback in relation to this, gender affirming care for young people.
Oh gosh, we need that so desperately.
Really, though? Are you sure, Pippa, that's the right thing to
ban is really scary.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. It's life-saving.
Yeah, but also too, you talked about where mixed, we're kind of a little bit male and female. Fellas, yourself, fellas, when they're 8, 9, 10 as part of puberty, they might grow breasts, small breasts. They might even lactate a little. Girls, what may traditionally have been known as tomboys, does that exist anymore or in the same way, or are people now sort of saying, all right, okay, well, you must be a boy, or saying to that guy, that young lad, oh, you must be a girl, and taking tablets that are going to potentially affect the girl's fertility if they change their minds, and also affect the boys, the development of the boys' genitalia. How can we, as a society, think that's the right thing to do?
Well, this picks up on another one of these anti-trans narratives, which is that somehow, at the slightest whim, other people are defining the gender of young children. This is not how this works. It is young children themselves who know who they are.
But you can't know
saying
who you
they
are at that age, Pippa. You
Now,
can't. We
and
as
we're-
adults
but we're
have to
not
help
talking-
guide people till they're 16, 17 and 18, but particularly as adults, and then they can make their own decisions. How could we
Exactly.
allow an 8 or 9-year-old to defer their puberty, right, and affect their
Deferring
potential...
puberty is safe.
It's not.
Reversible.
No. Are you saying there's no risk to potential female reproduction? And are you also saying that it doesn't stunt or harm the growth of a boy's genitalia by taking puberty blockers?
It's reversible. I've actually researched this. If you look at what for 20 years now, the Family Court in Australia has been supporting the use of puberty blockers. This isn't a new technology. We've got data and statistics and stories and evidence that it is safe. It's reversible. Going through the wrong puberty is life-threatening.
What does that mean? Going through the wrong puberties, like I mean,
If you feel that you're a boy and you go through female puberty, it's very, very bad for mental health. It has caused people to commit suicide.
Of course.
That's putting it very broadly.
But there's also many
It has
people. There's
happened.
also many people, and you will know. There's a very vocal detransitioning community who say their lives have been ruined by given puberty blockers. What about their voice?
That is a very small minority who regret transition.
It just
Most
is
people
every
who
every
regret transition
but it just is
are fine with their process.
But Pippa, it's
even-
just
even
everything
when they
that
wanna change it.
everything that goes against your belief system, you minimise. If you know what I mean.
No, I've read the data. I've done.
No,
the
I'm not
research.
questioning
What's
that. But
actually happening is that the exception is being used to affect everybody, and as if it's a rule. And this is a problem. It's actually an anti-trans rhetoric. It's
Well, not
non-accepting.
no, it's not. This is a conversation, not about being anti-trans, right? Because I understand exactly what you mean by that. This is a conversation, as far as I'm concerned, about making sure that we, who are the one single thing that we have that is of any consequence, is protecting children, in my view. We have to make sure that what we're doing is actually the right thing. Is actually the right thing. And to say that puberty blockers, their effects are reversible, is not actually, it's not actually clinically proven that is the case. There's opposing medical views in relation to that, i.e., how it affects people's bones, how it affects people's reproductivity.
Osteoporosis is one of the genuine concerns.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's what I've just referenced. I mean, I don't mean it funny, but there's there's an awful lot of I was watching some of the a recent protest, a pro-trans protest, and there seems to be a massive overrepresentation of trans people using sticks or what have you as well. Like, are we sure? In our rush to be inclusive, are we sure that we are doing the right thing for people? That's my concern.
Well, the physicians who prescribe puberty blockers are aware of the bone density issues. Usually once the person comes off the puberty blockers, it resolves itself. But they're monitoring it, they're checking bone density,
but we're talking
they're
about
adding calcium or doing what they need to do.
But we're talking about 7,
to
8, 9,
mitigate
10, 11, 12-year-olds. We're not talking about 30-year-olds. We're talking about little kids, right?
But we're only talking about puberty blockers at that age. We're talking about buying a young person time to make an informed decision for themselves, rather than sending them down an irreversible path of the puberty that's going to happen if you don't step in. I mean, that does have to be then corrected later with much more extreme interventions than just buying a little bit of time.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And as well, too, there are, there are people that are going surgery, bottom surgery, and also, top surgery for male to female transitions, and the outcomes are not medically sound. If you know where I'm coming from, there are serious issues.
We're coming back to an informed consent, aren't we? It's very important that people who undertake any medical procedure are fully informed of the risks and consequences, and they take it all together and they look at what they need for their lives and they make their own decisions. And as a society, we've always supported people to do that.
Okay, listen, Pippa, lovely chatting to you. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate you,
Thank you so
getting
much.
in touch with us and taking our call when we called you back. What's your views? 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number. You can call us too on 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Tuchelt. Bíimiid fad á déanamh. Well, ní bhíimiid fad. An bhfuil tú I do hí I maisín tuchailte. Seans tusa atá ann mar sin. Agus sulam ris an aine talamh. Ní mór dóibh seicáil an bhfuil aon fi blianta gáis ann. Détá curisteach mór a bheith ann mar an éontar álaigh, ní rud éigean níos measa a ríis. Túr cuairt gasnetworks.ie/dig chun seicáil. Teachtarach sa bháteachta ó líonraí gáis éireann.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Restex Beds, leave the rest to us.
Want a new Kia? Call to Heron Auto Donegal to arrange your test drive on our 252 Kia range, where quality customer care comes first. We have 0% finance available on all EV models. Visit Heron Auto on the Killybegs Road to test drive and order your 252 Kia and receive a €500 Super Value gift card. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto.
Irish Hospice Foundation's information and support line is a confidential service, providing information, support and resources on end-of-life care, advanced care planning and palliative care for anyone caring for someone with a life-limiting illness. Available 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Free phone 1800 60 70 66 or email support@hospicefoundation.ie.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Letterkenny should attend the clinic in the Radisson Blue Hotel in Letterkenny from Monday 19th to Thursday 22nd of May. Making an appointment is recommended. Regular donors can visit our website or call 1-800-731-137 to book a time. New donors are vital. Visit GiveBlood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Make real summer savings at Super Value. Like Super Value Fresh Irish Housekeeper's Cut, now save 25%. Super Value Fresh Fruit and Veg, 79 cent each. Scan your Real Rewards card or app and get Lions Tea 210 pack, now $6.50. And Kellogg's Rice Krispies and Cocoa Pops large packs, now €4. Make real summer savings at Super Value.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Get set for summer with all new arrivals dropping every week, from fashion to footwear and homeware to cosmetics. Discover more in-store or shop online at mchelhennys.com today.
Okay, so dry with sunny spells developing through today. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees, winds light. This is another one of those stories that are just absolutely sickening. Mary Boyle is chair of Falcarra Tidy Towns, and she's with me now. Mary, how are you keeping?
I'm very well, Greg, thank you.
Once, maybe idiotic behaviour, twice, I don't know what you'd call it, but 3 times it sounds like someone has an agenda here. We're talking about new young trees being planted in Falcarra, and again, they've been uprooted. What's the history of this?
Okay, well, thanks for having me on, Greg. These trees were planted, first of all, in mid-March. They're 40 silver birch trees, and they were planted by ourselves in Coshadlanagaslas, which is the Tidy Towns team in Falcarra, along with our CE scheme workers. And we also had the Green Schools team involved. That's the local primary school in Scollinen. So we had a group of about 8 children and the principal there. They're on their 9th green flag at the minute, and they do a lot of work for the environment within the community and the school. So we planted them in mid-March, and so there were little saplings. They're silver birch. We planted about 40 silver birch trees, and they were coming along okay. We were keeping an eye on them, and green leaves had been forming. And then on Saturday, the 3rd of March, some of the Tidy Towns, or 3rd of May, I beg your pardon, some of the Tidy Towns team just had a look, and they noticed that about 36 of the trees had been pulled out and just left beside the hole that they had been placed in originally. So they diligently put them in again, and we were, because there were there's a danger of them being distressed and that there were young saplings, we were watering them every day, sometimes twice a day. And so they were placed in on the Tuesday, and on Saturday, one of our committee members noticed that they had been pulled out again a second time and left in bunches this time, group of about 20 in each 2 groups. And so they were put in that very day and watered again, twice a day because of the heat and the good weather. And just the day before yesterday, they had been watered at 10 a.m. and when the Tidy Towns members went down to water them after 7, they had been pulled out again.
So, and those that are responsible for this, those who are responsible for planting these, they're trying to improve and make Falcarra even more beautiful than it already is, free. You know what I mean? No one's getting paid for this. This is community driven. So this is effectively a 2-fingered salute to the community. Now, Mary, especially the way they were bundled and the fact that this has happened 3 times now, unfortunately there is an individual or individuals in the community or coming into the community that are actively ripping these trees out. So you can't continuously have this battle of planting these trees, then being lifted, planting these trees, being lifted. So what do? Like, you can't either be controlled by this person's actions.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, the trees don't look too healthy.
No.
Anyway, we were just sort of thinking that they mightn't do anyway. We were just keeping them watered in the hope that they would sort of.
But they've been too distressed at this stage, I think.
They have been too distressed. But I must say, Coshadlanagaslas have been working diligently in the Falcarra area for over 17 years, and we've got nothing but cooperation and help and good support from within the community. So this has never happened. The likes of this has never happened. And so somebody obviously doesn't want the trees there, and we don't know why. Now, we're all locals. It's a very small community. So what we're going to do now is we're not putting the trees back in a 4th time. We are going to, just as a temporary measure, we're putting wildflower flower seeds there for this season anyway. And maybe the person would talk to us if there was some reason. As I say, it's not blocking anything. It's only going to enhance the area, and it's also a part of our heritage and tree trail. We have our committee has recently secured finance through the CLAR scheme to develop a tree and heritage trail taking in the town and a local woodland in Ballyconnell. And this was to be one of the stops on that trail. So it's disappointing from that point of view as well. So we would just like to know why it's been done. We have no idea in the world who did it. And we would just like if whoever did it might come forward and talk to us and say why they don't want the trees
Email
there.
falcaratidytans@gmail.com. But, you know, if anyone has the information in relation to this as well, because it's terrible, I think, that these plans are having to be scrapped for a year at least. Like, is it messing about? Is it horseplay? You know, maybe you don't realise what you're doing and the inconvenience it causes. Or maybe you're opposed to this type of plantation. But either way, you can't have this sort of cat and mouse situation, because what's next that you might do, Mary, that this individual or individuals might do? Or is it that there's a kid that walks along there and doesn't know any better and thinks it's a game? It might not seem the most important thing in the world, and clearly it's not, but it's a bind, because now you can't do this again. This is the third time, and the trees are damaged now beyond saving, I would imagine. But it's something that needs to be gotten to the bottom of, or else, you know, are they going to frustrate the group on the next thing that you try to do?
Well, it'll not stop us doing what we're doing.
Of course, yeah.
What we're doing is enhancing the area, and you know, we're a positive group. We'll move on from this, and hopefully we'll have trees planted there in the future. We'd like to know why. We get advice from Sean O'Geehan. We're extremely lucky to have Sean O'Geehan, who's the head gardener in Glenveigh, working among us here in the Falcara community, and he guides us on many projects. And you know, Sean advised us that silver birch would look nice in there. And, you know, a lot of work had been put into that site, and we went to a lot of expense in preparing it. There were old pine trees there, some of which were dead. They've been there for years, and we took them out. And, you know, taking down old trees isn't...
No, and it's very expensive, it's difficult, and it's
so,
a professional job.
We put a lot of work in there. We had a mini digger in to... you know, prepare the ground and put fresh soil in, and then put in the trees. So, you know, we'll still carry on doing what we can for the environment and for biodiversity. But this is a bit disheartening.
Okay, well, listen, Mary, we hope whomever's responsible has a crisis of conscience. They can email falcaratidytans@gmail.com or contact us and let us know what's going on. Or maybe someone's discovered someone in their house is doing it and they think it's horseplay. I don't know what the solution is, but keep it up. Falcara is beautiful. I know you're all working in the same direction on the Tidy Towns Committee. Keep us obviously in the loop for anything positive we can plug for you as well, Mary. I don't want our only interaction for a while to be a negative one. But thank you very much for your time and accepting our call. I appreciate it greatly. Slán, thank you very much indeed. Okay, a caller says, I'm busy on the phone lines again today. Thank you. A caller says, good morning, Greg. Sorry to hear about that woman's son getting bullied in their school. I know of 2 boys who sexually assaulted a girl. These 2 boys' repercussions were nothing. They were even allowed to go on the school trip. The girl left the school. The boys are still there. Now, that is incredibly worrying, because what's going to check that behaviour? If there seems to be no consequences, why would you not do it again? A caller says, I totally agree. It's not just secondary schools, though. It's rife in national schools, and not always by the fellow students. So many times it's the teacher who picks on the child and makes their life a nightmare. Well, no one should feel, and I know this myself, you know, when you're young, you go in through those doors, you just, you know, you feel so alone at times. And if your school life is difficult, it's very, very difficult as a young person to deal with. And a lot of the times you bottle that up. And we just need to do as much as we can to make sure that it's a happy and safe, productive place for our young people. On a different note altogether, I'm with 3 That's the phone network. And my mobile data hasn't been working for the past 3 days. I'm still charged. Every time I contact 3, they say they can't help me. I've been to the shop and they tell me to ring phone numbers. The numbers don't end up answered. Now, were you in the north? Because there is a quirk of mobile phones that sometimes if you were roaming, that how it accesses its data. How do I explain this? In the data settings, it's like instead of it being data dot whatever, it's MMS dot whatever, right? So if you were in the north or what have you, go into the mobile data settings, go to access points, and just make sure it's on data and not MMS. It probably isn't that, but there is a little bit of a quirk there with some of those networks. If you go into the north and out, it switches from data to MMS. So maybe it's that. Let us know if that helps at all. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Celebrate summer this week at Centra with our summer sizzler offers. Like selected barbecue meats, any 3 for €10. Selected Centra berries and grapes, any 2 for €5.50. And selected Cadbury large bars, 120 gram, €2 each. Centra. Live every day.
There's any number of new cars out there, but do the numbers add up? With the stylish Peugeot 2008, Fastback 3008 and spacious 5008 electric and hybrid range, they really do. You'll enjoy up to €1,500 trade-in bonus, a free 3-year service plan, a 5-year warranty and a free home charger. Order your 252 Peugeot today at McGinley Motors, your main Peugeot dealer in County Donegal. Offer ends June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
I'm Fionnuala Fibre O'Farrell Flynn, racing across the country to keep up with NBI's fibre rollout. Over 50 broadband providers are using NBI's network to bring high-speed fibre broadband to homes across Ireland. So from Ballyliffin to Ballybuffet, homeowners can pick whatever package suits their needs and still get all the benefits of rural Ireland's dedicated fibre broadband network. Connect at nbi.ie.
NBI is delivering the government's national broadband plan.
Another connection. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have worn heels.
Concern over future of farm schemes. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, EU plans to scrap ring-fence cap budget could see ANC, acres and suckler schemes axed. Cattle exports surge by 20%. Find out how your co-op performed in our milk price review. Department pays Teagasc €100,000 in office rent. How an enduring power of attorney could protect your farm. Plus, win a Yamaha quad. Collect 3 tokens to enter. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
McElhenney's Home Value event is back. Enjoy up to 50% off your favourite designer homeware brands across kitchen, bedding, home decor and more. Discover our Home Value event in store or shop online and save at mcelhenneys.com today.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The family of Rebecca Brown, who died after being struck by a Garda patrol car in Buncrana in 2023, says the fight for truth and justice still burns 2 years on. A decision was made last year not to prosecute the Garda involved in the 21-year-old's death. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
Marking the second anniversary of the death of Derry woman Rebecca Brown, her family has placed a wooden cross at the roadside in Ludden, Buncrana, where the 21-year-old lost her life in May of 2023. They say it's a symbol of love, grief and the fight that still burns for truth and justice in Ireland. The family has formally requested a full review of GSOC's decision not to prosecute the Garda involved in Miss Brown's death. They vowed to continue to wait for the truth and say they won't stop asking for it.
35 new jobs are to be created in Letterkenny as B&Q announces the opening of its new store in Letterkenny. The premises will open at the end of the month. Michaela Clark has the details.
35 new jobs have been announced today as B&Q is set to open a brand new store in Letterkenny on Friday, May the 30th. The 35,000 square foot store will be located in Letterkenny Retail Park at the site of the previous Homebase store. It's been confirmed that 19 staff formerly employed by Homebase, which closed earlier this year, have since transferred to B&Q. The store has been remodelled and once open will offer a wide range of home improvement essentials along with a dedicated trade point counter, a dedicated timber cutting service as well as a paint mixing service, garden centre and a 1-hour click and collect service.
It's been confirmed this morning the latest deadline for completing the National Children's Hospital will be missed by a further 3 months. Construction work was to have finished next month, but will now be September at the earliest. The delay is the 15th in the past 4 years. The head of the National Paediatric Hospital Development Board is appearing before the Oireachtas Public Accounts Committee this morning. The committee's chair, Deputy John Brady, says clarity is needed.
I think we need to get a date, we need to hold them to account, and we need to ensure that value for money eventually comes. When that figure of 2.24 billion, I think, is going to be well exceeded. So we need to get a final figure. We need to get a final date as to when the children of Ireland will finally be able to use the badly needed National Children's Hospital.
Investigations are continuing after a car was kicked and damaged while waiting at traffic lights in Derry on Monday morning. At around 8:20, a man approached the black BMW X5 while stationary at traffic lights at Coolmore Road roundabout near Foyle Bridge. He kicked the driver's door and wing mirror several times, causing damage. Police are urging any witnesses to come forward, particularly anyone who may have camera footage. 9 projects in Donegal have secured a total of €145,915 in funding for heritage initiatives. The Heritage Council grants are intended to allow local communities conserve and celebrate their built, cultural and natural heritage. The projects being supported include an ongoing sustainable access project at Errigal Mountain, repair works at Kilbarron Castle and church repair works at Clonlee, St Johnson and Rimelton. A full list of the successful projects and their allocations available on highlandradio.com. The RSA plans to cut driving test waiting times by more than half come September. Currently, learner drivers are waiting an average of 22 weeks for a test date, despite the target being 10. In Donegal, the current wait list for a test in Buncrana is 21 weeks, while it'll be 26 weeks in Buncrana, It'll be 21 weeks before you can sit your driving test in Letterkenny and 18 weeks in Donegal town. The Road Safety Authority says it's extending testing hours to weekends and bank holidays, opening more centres and training more examiners to tackle the backlog. Chief Operating Officer at the body, Brendan Walsh, says changes have already started to take effect.
At the middle of 2024, we had a sanction to have 130 driving testers operating within the state. We've now, with the support of the government and our colleagues in the Department of Transport, we've grown that to 200, which is a significant uplift. Those people are now being trained. The first 41 of them have already been deployed into the service, and another 50 will also be deployed in the coming weeks.
And latest figures have revealed 17 greyhounds were injured or euthanised at Lifford Greyhound Stadium in the first 4 months of the year. Figures from Greyhound Racing Ireland show 6 dogs were euthanised in Lifford, the second highest figure in the country. 11 greyhounds were injured. Across the country, 106 greyhounds suffered injuries at races in the first 4 months of 2025. More than half were euthanised by vets at the track. Weather forecast dry today with sunny spells developing through the day. Top temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. Back with headlines at 11 o'clock. In the interim, check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Thursday morning, May the 22nd. The death has taken place of James Doherty, Bankhead, Tully Alley, Redcastle. James's remains will leave Emma McLaughlin's funeral home, Station Road, Carndonagh, this afternoon at 12:30, going to his home. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock funeral mass in St Columba's Church, Drung, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Funeral mass can be viewed live on stcolumbusdrung.net. Family time from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The death has occurred of Sean John O'Keefe, Glassley Convoy, reposing at his late residence from 1 o'clock this afternoon with rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church Convoy at 11 o'clock. Interment in the Old Cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has occurred of Mary Shield, née O'Reilly, late of Bell Alt, Castlefin. reposing at her late residence today from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Rosary tonight at approximately 9 o'clock. Funeral to St Patrick's Church Crossroads tomorrow morning at 20 past 10 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Castlefin. The death has taken place of Nigel Brown, 236 Lisnafin Park, Strabane, and formerly of Glebe Villas, Archie Garvin. Funeral leaving Quigley's funeral home this morning at 11:30 for service of Thanksgiving in Patrick Parish Church at Ballymagorry at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Rena McClintock, formerly of Swilly Valley Mills, Ballindrate. Her remains are reposing at Terence McClintock's funeral home at Ballyboat Convoy today from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, going to Ballindrate Presbyterian Church for funeral service, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to Brindley Manor Nursing Home, care of Michelle Johnston or Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has taken place of Patricia Patton, née Kyle, Greenhill, Letterkenny, reposing at her home. Requiem Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Ramelton, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time before the funeral this morning. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to the cardiac unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Connie Sweeney, née McNulty, 26 Hillhead, Castlefin, reposing at the home of her son and daughter-in-law Anthony and Melanie Sweeney, Alt Lower, Doneylub. Funeral from there this morning at 20 past 11 for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Mary's Church, Castlefin. Interment afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Castlefin. Family time, please, before the funeral this morning. And the death has taken place of Seamus McIntyre, Ballyness, Falcara, formerly of Creeslaw. Funeral Mass this afternoon at 1 o'clock in St Finian's Church, Falcara. Interment afterwards in the adjacent cemetery. House private to family, please, before the funeral today. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to the Lake House Comfort Fund, care of any family member or Kieran Rorty, funeral director. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, funeral director's Facebook page and on the parish webcam. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio. You never know when barbecue weather will arrive or leave. But with Aldi's 100% Irish Board Bia quality assured barbecue range, you can be ready at a moment's notice. Like lean beef burgers, basted pork loin chops, and marinated chicken fillet kebabs. All for only $2.99 per pack. So go on, get summer started. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
You're very welcome back to the programme. We're into the second hour of this Thursday show. Thanks so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. I'll get to some of your comments coming in so far this morning. How many trans people in Donegal? Why are we having to listen to the trans debate? In 50 years, I've only met one, a man who dressed as a woman and was tolerated in the community. He didn't try to invade women's spaces or push his thoughts onto school children. Some balance, please. Of course, there is balance. Firstly, these are topical conversations that are happening around the world. Secondly, maybe it exposes that we are a very open, welcoming community. That's positive, isn't it? And thirdly, Pippa is very eloquent and very informed on these matters and had her say as well. So I don't think you could get any more balanced in relation to that. This caller says Pippa's full of contradictions. The exception shouldn't be the rule when it comes to the harm of puberty blockers and operations, yet the exception is the rule for when the majority want single-sex toilets. Sex is defined at conception and confirmed at birth, says this listener. When a skeleton is excavated, there is no transgender science. They are either male or female. Morning, Greg. Let our children grow as children. When they're 18 years, they can explore gender if they want. Another, what planet is your guest on regarding trans? There was a case where a rapist decided to be a trans woman and the Scottish government jailed him and put him in a woman's prison. And there are cases like that, of course. It does happen. There was a high-profile case in Ireland. But the important thing about talking about these things is that that's a very extreme example. And should that extreme example be used to make the life more difficult of a small group of people living in this country as well? Do you know what I mean? So that's why these conversations out in the open are useful, because they're raging online and people have very extreme views. At least here we can have a nice civilized conversation. Regarding this sex identity conversation, there is still a thing in Europe today. They are told that their sexual orientation or gender identity is a disorder and are pressured to reject it or suppress it. Another listening to this lady really brings it home. Their needs come before ours, not equal to. Men in women mixed toilets, changing spaces, that's what's needed. Then everyone can be happy. Some minority expect everyone to change or accept their discomfort to suit their needs. The thing is though, there are members of the trans community who want to use facilities that conform to their gender, and mixed toilets for many is not actually a solution. Hi, I'm a mother of 2 daughters, and there's not a chance in hell that I'd want a transgender woman in the toilets with them. Stop pandering to the one, Greg. What about the discrimination suffered by the disabled every day, everywhere? Trans people don't have to book a bus 48 hours in advance and have to hold it in every town, as there are so few disabled access toilets. Sick listening to the trans agenda on Highland, with Greg bending over backwards to accommodate them. Well, most people think we shouldn't be having the conversation at all because it's anti-trans. Secondly, I'm really, really very, very proud of the work we've done on this programme, not only on bus access for people with disabilities, but actually having a very key role in changing strategy in relation to that. Now, there's still a lot of work to do, but we've been on campaigns where there was no access for people with disabilities, and I could even name the routes whereby I would like to think we played a part in getting those positions in, getting those buses in situ. Also, I've been as strong as anyone an advocate in the media for changing spaces toilets and supporting those, fundraising for them, chatting to them when they've been opened, and helping with campaigns to try and get them more widespread. The amount of times I've talked on this show of someone who is not as able-bodied as others having to plan trips. I mean, affected by this in my own family, having to plan trips down the country because there's no toilets available for them that are properly disable access. So I'm not being defensive, but I would be really proud with the work we've done on the show in terms of what you're talking of there. And talking about women's rights or trans rights to access toilets in no way degrades or diminishes the topic of disabled people's access to the same facilities. It's just a different conversation on a different day. Hi, Greg. The woman on the trans debate is wrong. Trans women are men and trans men are women. Does she not understand biology? There are 2 sexes, and that is male and female. That comes in from Sean on the island, Aaron Moore. Yeah, but she conceded that, I believe. It's the gender element of it that people believe there's intersex, and the gender's more of how you feel. Why is transgender so important now when it's always been there for millions of years, and it's become so important now? Not here, and I'm not trying to start it here. I'm not having a sort of controversial debate on it, because there are large groups of organisations that represent women in sport, for an example, that feel that women have been denied opportunities because of transgender women in their sports. We've seen that case of a person being quite seriously injured by a person born a male playing Gaelic football as a transgender woman. There are people also that are not comfortable with trans people in their spaces. They're the ones having the conversation and driving the conversation. What bit of common sense does your guest not understand? There's no such thing as trans women or trans men. It's simply biologically impossible, regardless of how they dress or act. It's not discrimination. It's common sense. But people was talking about how they feel, that you can feel it in yourself. I don't feel male. Like, it's not that I don't. I suppose, there's a gender dysphoria thing whereby your gender is particularly important. But maybe I'm entitled. Maybe I'm a white straight male, and why would I be conscious of my gender? Maybe that's an argument, but it's not something I wake up every morning and think about. or standing in front of a mirror and look at. I just really don't have time for it. I just get on with it. But for some people, it's obviously incredibly important. A caller says, I don't know any trans people. Maybe I'm uneducated, but how would I know that you were trans unless you told me? Well, in the trans community, there's a phrase they use where you can pass, where you are born a man passing as a woman, or many people listening might feel that they could easily distinguish. Pippa is correct. Private shared space. We don't object to sharing on trains, planes, and homes, etc. But they are also single occupancy spaces. We were kind of talking about multi-occupancy spaces, but I take your point. Greg, would it not be more important to discuss the starvation of children in Gaza, to discuss transgender that's been inhuman since the beginning of time? We talk about the situation in Gaza pretty much daily on this show. But it's never been like that, even when there is such a horrendous situation ongoing where you talk about the one thing or only talk about the one thing. There's many things in life that affect people, and things are subjective. And maybe that topic is more important, whether we like it or not, or you like it or not. Maybe that topic is more important to that person in that time than what is happening in another part of the world. So it's subjective, and we have to vary it up a little bit as well. So Pippa wants no female or male toilets, just mixed. Seriously, everyone discomfort to suit their needs or her needs. I'm sure the vast majority of boys and girls will love that. Listening to this conversation just shows that no other opinion matters. Now, a couple more here. Good morning, Greg. Could you please play a birthday request for my great friend Matty McCarran in Gibbstown, Liscooley? Have the best birthday ever. Lots of love from Maeve. Hi to Matty's brother Corey also. Thank you. Greg, nice to meet you, or nice to see you in Carn on Tuesday. Thank you. You look totally different to what I imagined. Brackets, in a good way. Yay. Okay. I remember there was a time, now I'm not putting myself in with these people, right? I'm only up here in Donegal working away on this little show. But, I didn't know what, listen to the radio, I didn't know what Jerry Ryan looked like, Larry Gogan, Simon Young. I didn't know what they looked like, and locally, there's a few local DJs too that I didn't know what they looked like. But nowadays too, with social media, I think everyone knows what we all look like, so it's not as big a thing anymore. But anyway, it was lovely to meet you, I'm sure, because I loved meeting everyone up there as well. We've got some great photos. Actually, I didn't post those photos on my own socials. I know they're on Highlands, but I must get to that, because as I say, it was so lovely to meet so many lovely, wonderful people.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 22nd of May. Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €6,200 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 21. The jackpot number is number 4. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 59, 46, 58, 84, 21, 70, 72, 23, 53, and finally 64. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Donegal Vintage Classic Car and Heritage Club annual car show is this Sunday 25th of May at 11 a.m. at the car park behind the Clannery Hotel, Letterkenny. Proceeds from the event will go to aid Zach McCrossan. The sale is sponsored by Express Self-Service Laundrette, Ballyrain, Letterkenny.
Travelling to Dublin for business? Donegal Airport's same-day return makes it easy. Fly out at 7:55 a.m. and return at 6:50 p.m. Great fares and low-cost parking. Save time and book now at aerlingus.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Ireland's move to a cleaner energy future is happening right beneath your feet. With a gas network that's carrying more renewable gas, that will help your business become more sustainable in a way that works for you. Gas Networks Ireland, moving Ireland's energy.
Summer is here and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all. Easy Living Furniture. Luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
As we covered on the show before, we're borrowing more than we have for quite some time, if ever. Personal loans have reached record highs last year. We're being told it's being driven by car loans and green home improvements. Nick Charalambos is Managing Director of Alpha Wealth, and he joins me on the show now to discuss this. Good morning, Nick. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. I'm very good, thank you.
It's great to have you on the show. When I see where house prices are going and I see, the lives that many people are living, and I'm not begrudging anyone, don't get me wrong, it just does kind of feel reminiscent of where we were going or where we were at pre-crash. But we might get into that. But I just want, from your perspective, what do you think is happening? Why do we feel so confident or well off that we can afford to borrow at the rates that we are?
I suppose, Greg, I work as a financial advisor and I have done for the last 27 years, having set up a business 11 years ago. And interestingly, I've seen continuously year after year where people have this kind of, I suppose it's the living creep, as I call it, but this expectation where we buy, bigger cars and bigger, shinier houses. And it's almost like following this trend. Now, we had the recession back for those people that are old enough. I'm 51. In 08, 09. And subsequent to that, it seems to have been this continuous movement. And we've seen that both in house prices, obviously, over the last number of years, but also in things like cars and other kind of material things. The holidays we go on tend to be kind of more expensive. We tend to go a bit further. And that's just, I suppose, the cycle that we find ourselves.
It's quite interesting because we have an astronomical amount of money in saving accounts in this country, right? So I'm interested in who has that money to save it. But then conversely, is it a different group of individuals then that are doing the borrowing? And do they really have the money to meet the payments on that borrowing?
What's really interesting, Greg, is that there is that kind of almost like disparity of those that are saving, and we have record number of savers at the moment, as billions of euros sitting in relatively low interest deposit interest accounts. And then on the other side, we've got borrowers who are a record high. We had over 230 loans, new loans drawn down last year, 20% increase on the year before. So you wonder, why is there this kind of disparity? But interestingly, what we've noticed, Greg, and I see this in my daily life, those people that are saving are also, interestingly, in some cases, the borrowers as well, because we've got into this kind of environment, and we see this with the advent of these online banks that offer easy loans, the likes of Revolut, for example. And, we seem to be in this culture of, borrowing, really not necessarily actually even needing the money. And it really can be a problem, and I've faced this many times.
Yeah, I've related this story before. It was run up to the crash. I was walking through a shopping centre in Derry, and two young women came up to me from Ulster Bank and said, would you be interested in a credit card? And I filled out this little pamphlet form, and about a week later, a gold credit card, if you don't mind, dropped through my door with 10 grand limit on it. Like I simply couldn't afford it. I ended up maxing it out, of course, and being a big victim of the crash like so many were. So some might look at this, though, and say, right, we're better off, okay? We've got more confidence. The sentiment is good. We're confident in where we're at, and we're confident in where we will be at. But this is against, really, messaging globally that things could be turning a little bit sour. So should we be seeing this as a red flag, then, rather than maybe some sort of a positive reflection on our attitudes and the situations we find ourselves in?
I believe so, Greg. And there's this concept called money dysmorphia, which is basically where people have this perception that they're actually better off than they are. Now, I understand that many listeners may have loans, the most typical one obviously being a mortgage, and that in itself needs a little bit of management. There's been a quite a big movement in interest rates over the last few years. As you know, we've seen this increase back in 2022, 2023, and then this quite stark fall. And I do think there's a little bit of management in that, because that tends to be obviously the biggest loan that we have in our lifetimes. And we want to be quite conscious of the interest rate and how we can kind of manage that. But also, in terms of loans, many of us are familiar with the usual car loan and the concept of PCP and so on. And whilst I respect the fact that some people have to borrow money, if you want to do house improvements and you don't have the finance to that, that is why loans were created as a concept and a necessary tool. The problem then becomes, how do you then look at trying to repay that? Because unfortunately, it's at loggerheads with this whole concept of what we call financial independence, which is basically getting to a point where you are essentially debt free. So that gives you that ability to then think about, what you're going to do in returns of your lifestyle and your income requirements, to basically pull back from your working days. Because whilst you have loans, it's very, very difficult to do that.
So, say I had no reserve as such, okay, and then I went and got a loan out to do something that was non-essential, but it's something that I wanted to do. I presume that would be concerning to you as as someone working in finance. You would say, well, like if things go to pot, A, you've got nothing to fall back on, but B, then you'd have this debt hanging over you that the payments for which you wouldn't be able to meet. Do you think a lot of us are in that situation that we're not planning for our future? We're not putting into a pension. We don't have a reserve, but we're locking ourselves into 3, 5, 7, or even maybe 40 years of debt.
I do, Greg. And in terms of that scenario that you've described, and it's one that I'm seeing more and more often, the way that I'd probably position it is, firstly, I think it's important for clients to just do the general basics. And I know it sounds fairly mundane, but even just doing a financial budgeter once a year, it's just a good, reflection on where you are in relation to your finances in general. The second thing is that I often come across clients who do borrow money, sometimes, believe it or not, maybe unknowingly, to put it into an account as that reserve. And I say to them, but then you're in this kind of lost situation where you've borrowed at 7, 8% plus interest rates to leave it in the bank at close to zero. So really, I see the loan as that kind of, emergency, if you want to call it that. But typically what we advise people to do is try and have that contingency. I don't like the word emergency fund. I prefer to use it as this money that we've kind of almost like allocated to certain things that we want to do. Because a lot of us, for example, know that we're going to go on a summer holiday this year. And if you just try and pre-plan a small bit and say to yourself, okay, well, if I'm heading off and I've paid for maybe the flights, but I know I need to pay for my accommodation, that could cost me 2, 3, 4,000 euro. You need to think about, is that money available to you now? And if it isn't, how are you going to get that money available to you when you actually need it? Because if you don't plan ahead,
if you don't plan ahead really, and are able to budget for that trip next year, putting away 50 quid a month or whatever it might be, there is a strong argument that you actually can't afford it. So you're borrowing for something that you can't afford. So that 1 or 2 weeks will be gone, but you're left paying back this money. So really, we should be able to front load that really with planning if we can afford it.
Absolutely, Greg. And most of what we do as financial planners is help people just find the right balance. Because in many cases, what it actually is, it's not necessarily that they can't afford the holiday. And look, as a family person, I have 4 children and blended family. It's something that's very important to us. So it's not something that I personally would go without. But what I would say is that maybe they're putting too much into their pension, or maybe they're putting, too much into a short-term savings account that they actually probably have either forgotten about or left alone. I come across a lot of people, Greg, that have accounts that have almost become half dormant, respectfully, the likes of the credit union from back in the day, or they might have some money sitting in some form of, even pension fund that they forgot about. And they just need to kind of recognize and understand their ability to access money when they need it, but also what I say to everyone is that if you have income coming into your household, whether that's one income or two, what are you doing with it in relation to what I call these three different pots? This is the short, medium, and long term. And it's just finding the right balance between them and helping them to recognize where these future expenses are going to come from, because we all get hit by them. You know, the adage of the likes of, say, Christmas, for example. I'm not being funny, but Christmas in my household costs probably the best part of 2 to 3 grand. Once you get presents, you know,
Throw
certain
everything into
maybe
it.
small
Yeah,
trip,
of course.
it
Yeah.
does. And yet it's something that we don't really take too
But the
much
thing, though, you see, Mick, your advice is sound, but in these moments, you know, whether it's keeping up with the Joneses or whatever it might be, in these moments, we don't want to hear what you have to say, because it could be voices similar to yours in the run up to 0809 that we ignored, because all the signs were there and there were people warning. But I think you get caught up in this sense that everything's all right. I've got a nice car. I look like I'm doing well. I don't want to hear from Nick. He's a naysayer until such time then as the S hits the F.
Yeah, look, and I get that, Greg, absolutely. And again, I try and live in the real world, and I'm not here to kind of preach, you know,
No, I'm not
the
saying you
gospel.
are.
But
I'm saying what you're saying is correct, but we just don't want to hear it
yeah,
sometimes
but
to
the
our
point I'd make
detriment.
to the listeners, Greg, is that live within your means, and that should, in hopefully a lot of cases, mean that, for example, you know, the government over the last two budgets, Greg, have given us some money back. We know that. You know, typically we were well off in January of 24 and January 25 to the tune of about 50 to 70 euros per month on average. And yet many of us didn't really take any countenance of that because of this cost of living creep, as we call it. We just absorbed it. And really, all I'm going to try and say to listeners is, I appreciate, you know, we may be in a position, we may have a few loans outstanding, credit cards being the worst of them. You know, if there's any listeners out there that do have credit card debt, I think it's really important to try and redress that. And, you know, it might be a case of just rethinking the way that they're doing things. For example, I use a concept called snowballing, which is essentially trying to pay off the smallest debt you have first, and then move the money that you're paying into that loan into the next one, and so on, hence the snowball. There's another variation of that called the avalanche, where you hit the highest interest one. But really, the main thing is just be cognizant of it. I think there's probably, in some cases, a lack of reference, because some people ask me, Nick, why are you so anti-debt? You know, why do you mind so much? Because in some cases, it is generally affordable for most of us. I have a lot of clients that are paying off car loans comfortably every month. They may have other personal loans. And I say that not only is the cost of interest higher than they would get in any form of investment typically, but also that repayment that they're making, the 300, 400, 500 euros a month to repay back that loan, it's preventing them from putting that money towards either savings for the short term,
Yeah, but we
maybe
can
longer
find. Yeah,
term
but we
for their
can
retirement.
find
And that generally tends to be the problem.
But we can find the 300 or 400 euro to write down debt on a depreciating asset. But we would probably argue that we couldn't find the 300 or 400 to plan for the future, because it's more. It's sometimes it's more pleasing to live in the now. It's a human condition, I think.
It is, Greg. But
Yeah.
there are, again, there's probably a bit of leakage as well, because I come across people that are paying too much for certain things, like insurances, for example. And again, this is why, in my opinion, I think it's important. And we've all done it. You know, I myself, like, we've signed up to Netflix and we forgot to cancel the subscription.
Yeah.
It's going out every month. It's those sort of
Oh,
things
I
that
stumbled
do.
upon I stumbled upon, and I don't have a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but I stumbled on an insurance product for a mobile phone I got 8 years ago, and I didn't even want to
Yeah.
think of how much I did.
That's a good point. The other thing as well, Greg, is sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
Getting tax back. You know, a lot of listeners out there, they're owed money by revenue. You know, they've made very clear reference to the fact that many of us who worked from home over the last 4 years, um, rented a property, for example, that, you know, us that they haven't claimed the rent relief for. And yet these are easy wins that I do feel people can take advantage of. And you'd be surprised how much it can actually amount to.
Yeah.
And again, if there's any listeners out there that are unsure, do reach out to a financial advisor, because I think sometimes, and there can be sometimes emotional issues surrounding, you know, there can be a little bit of embarrassment. Maybe if there's a couple, I've found that there tends to be this like yin and yang, where one of the people may be a saver and the other a spender, and it can cause quite big issues, to be honest with you.
And just finally, I would wonder, say for instance of if we got in contact with 100 listeners right now who got a loan out, say for instance in the last month, how many of us, in all honesty, if we're relieved to get the loan or excited as to what we might do with it, know precisely how much that credit will cost us over a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year period? Do we really ignore that $3,000 costs us 4.5 or whatever it might be? I don't think I think most of us wouldn't know that.
They wouldn't, Greg. I agree. And the fact is that the banks have made it very easy now for people to get these loans. And, again, I get spammed by these banks regularly, and they can be quite enticing. So, for me, what I'd say is just think about what you actually need. I use this rule of 72, which is basically if you want to get something, wait 72 hours. And if you still feel it's important, then okay, maybe it does need to be taken, because we're all very emotional creatures, and unfortunately we sometimes act on impulse, and that tends to be some of the problem.
Yeah. And listen, you talked about maybe it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with a financial advisor, but often then you find yourself not doing so and going down the road and having a similar conversation with the great people in MABS. Do you know what I mean? So the one thing I was guilty of, and I think many people were at a time, but particularly coming into the recession, was completely burying the head in the sand and just, batting off the calls and the letters and just thinking things were going to change without any intervention. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't, Greg, you're right. And as I say, I think a lot of people can, make inroads into reducing debt. I've done it very successfully for many people. And sometimes it takes time. It won't necessarily be this kind of overnight solution. But certainly, in terms of just trying to understand where you are, I think it's really important. There's some really good free online tools people can access, even on our own webpage, Alpha Wealth, where they can basically get some really good instruction, look at the financial budgeter without any obligation or cost on their part.
Okay, Nick Charlambus, Managing Director of Alpha Wealth, thanks so much for your time. An informative, interesting conversation. Take care.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Bye-bye. And you can check out Alpha Wealth for more info there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Looking for a strong, reliable mobile clothesline? Firegrids Donegal have you covered. We also specialise in gates, railings and all types of fabrication work, custom made to suit your needs, serving all areas with quality you can trust. Call us today on 086 860 2012. That's 086 860 2012. Firegrids Donegal. We build quality that lasts. Find us on Facebook, Firegrids Donegal.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €185 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Uisce Éireann is Ireland's national water utility, responsible for delivering clean, safe and reliable national public drinking water and wastewater services for Ireland. For any questions about public water services or to report an issue in your area, we can be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 1800 278 278 or visit water.ie. Uisce Éireann. Delivering water services for Ireland.
Don't miss Homeland's May Mega Deal. Save 15% on wild bird feeders and tables. Farm stock solar fencer S440, now $179. Save €20. Gold all-in-one lavender and chamomile pods 51 wash, now $13.99. Save €6. Offers until May 31st. Shop in-store or at homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available.
We're serving up summer at Dunn Stores and it's barbecue season. Mix and match 3 for €10 across a fantastic range of meat and fish. Try something vibrant like succulent king prawns. Or enjoy Boardbia quality assured meats like piri piri chicken wings or new hot honey pork belly slices and many more. Any 3 for just €10. Plus, save at the till with a 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunn Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Are you a community hero?
Return is championing over 3,000 community initiatives across Ireland's cities, towns and villages with our Small Town Big Difference campaign. For your chance to win €2,000 for your local community group, tell us how your initiative is making an impact in your local area with the deposit return scheme. T's and C's apply. Visit return.ie/heroes for more information.
So, as you would have heard on this show and others, a member of the Irish language hip-hop group Kneecap has been charged with a terror offence after allegedly displaying a flag in support of proscribed organisation Hezbollah at a London gig. Liam Og O'Hannah, 27, has been charged by the Met after an incident on the 21st of November 24 at the O2 Forum in Kentish Town, London. The video appeared on X and everyone decided to forward it onto the Popo. Well, Mr. O'Hannah, who performs under the name Mokara, is due to appear at Westminster's Magistrate Court on Wednesday, the 18th of June. Now, because what Kneecap were doing really was opposing and against what was happening in Gaza, the default here is that you shouldn't be talking about that issue. You should actually be talking about the tens of thousands of innocents that are dying in Gaza. And, of course, the second issue trumps the first, but it doesn't make the first disappear, so we have to talk about that as well. We're doing so with Pat McCart, former editor of the Derry Journal newspaper. Pat, thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
Right, so what's your view on this? The band themselves believe that this is political policing. Are you of that view, or do you think that they were foolish and must face the consequences?
Well, you could argue both, but Greg, the thing is, the head of the UN, Tom Fletcher, the humanitarian, says there are possibly 14,000 babies going to die within the next 48 hours. On Tuesday night, 5 trucks were allowed through. That was purely for optics by the Israelis. During the ceasefire, there were 6,000 trucks going into Gaza, 5 trucks. So, and it was 6, by the way, apparently there's 62,000 people dead in Gaza right now. That includes the 14,000 whose bodies are missing and won't be found until the rubble is cleared and all the rest. So in the midst of all that, somebody waving a flag at a concert, a punk rock band waving a flag at a concert and saying up Hezbollah or something like that. Maybe they shouldn't have done it, but the point is, it's bordering on the ridiculous that in the midst of all that the British establishment, the Met Police, have decided to issue a summons for a guy at a concert.
I get exactly what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying, and I'm not saying I disagree with you in any way, shape, or form, Pat. But the two things are separate, though, are they not? That's like saying, and I don't mean this in any way insensitive, but because something terrible is happening in the world, I should be able to shoplift. And why would police chase after me for shoplifting when everyone should be really worried about what's happening in this other part of the world? The bottom line is that they did something that is illegal. Do they? Should it be illegal? Should they face the full wrath of the law? Or does this mean the PSNI need to get very busy in prosecuting people for waving flags of prescribed organisations in Northern Ireland, for an example?
Yeah, Greg, take your point, and I know what you're doing. You're doing your doing the opposite, right? But here's the point: this is politics, right? I think they're being charged on the 2000 act about a terrorism act, right? Here's the thing: you can walk down the street in London and wave an Israeli flag, no bother. Right, let's get this in context. Everybody says this present thing started on October 7th, 2023. Right, between 2008 and October 6th, 2023, Israel killed 6,000 Palestinians. And between January 1st, 23 and October 6th, 2023, we killed 223 Palestinians. Yet you can walk down the street in London waving an Israeli flag. But if you walk down the street saying those who oppose Israel, like Hezbollah or Hamas, and by the way, I'm not here to advocate for them. I have no,
and I'm not here to. I'm certainly not here to defend Israel's actions. But the example is walking down through London waving a Palestinian flag,
no, but,
not a terrorist organisation flag.
But the point is, Greg, this is politics. It is not like lifting something off a shelf, which is a crime. these are views. Surely I am entitled to my view that in Israel, in the conflict between Israel and Hamas, Israel is every bit as guilty as Hamas. In fact, in my opinion, and I'm quite willing to say it openly, I believe Israel is the far greater evil than Hamas.
Yeah, it's really quite a remarkable situation that we find ourselves in, that this is happening in front of our eyes, and that, you know, the Israeli government of a people made up of a group that were wiped. The attempt was to wipe them out. Nazi Germany wanted to wipe these people out, and they're doing the same now. And also interesting that a number of countries wanted to get tough on this, European countries, and Germany was amongst one of those countries that wasn't a signatory to that. I mean, there are still people living directly affected by the Holocaust, and here we have now the Israelis, by all accounts, effectively, but except their own, undergoing a genocide against their next door neighbours. I often struggle as to how Israeli people can sleep at night knowing these young kids are skeletal now with no food.
Yeah, Greg, the Israelis have done a magnificent job in PR ways. Even things like I would have suspicions about the voting patterns at the Eurovision.
Well, everyone
that's a
does.
side
Yeah.
issue. There's something, but Michael Martin said that it was a sick joke. That the fact that they allowed 5 trucks in the other night. Greg, I'm going to repeat myself here, but there were 6,000 trucks a day, I think, needed during the earlier part of the ceasefire. And there's 2.3 million people living in Gaza who have had no water, no food, no electricity since the end of February, start of March. You've seen them, and I've seen them, the skeletal children. And I'm repeating myself again because
No,
let's
that's
get this
fine.
on the
It's
record.
important.
Tom Fletcher, the UN humanitarian guys, said there are 14,000 babies ready to die between the next 24 and 48 hours. And we're
Like
playing
the
silly
Israelis
bugger games
won't let the
we're
Israeli.
talking about kneecap.
Yes, I know, but we're not. We have, yes, but this is the similar thing that we were talking about earlier on. We are continuously talking about the atrocities in Gaza. But does that mean we don't discuss kneecap? Does that mean we don't discuss a very well-known pop band, one of their members finding themselves in court on terrorism charges? You know, I mean, if you were publishing the Derry Journal newspaper today, you could put the atrocity in Gaza on the front page, but you would also perhaps put the kneecap story on page 3, and that's all I'm doing. I'm putting the kneecap story on page 3 of the programme.
But Greg, let's get even right. Let's go back. The Derry Journal described Bloody Sunday as murder. Strictly speaking, that was illegal. We accused British troops of committing murder on Bloody Sunday. The British government didn't come after the Derry Journal for using the word murder because the public outrage was about what happened. Greg, this is about choice of language, about choice of whatever. It is political policing. You're allowed to support Israel. And what Israel has done is, let's get this in context as well. The Israelis put the people of the Palestinians off their land in 1948, took over the place and all the rest. Now, I'm not saying what's happened or what's right or wrong after the Second World War. There's a whole political context here.
Yeah.
But the people living in Palestine have rights as well, which seem to be totally ignored by the British establishment, by the American establishment. Are the people in Gaza just supposed to live their lives under subjugation,
of course they're not. But
oppression and all the rest?
What I'm saying, Pat, is that if you want to support the people of Palestine and oppose what Israel is doing, you can fly the Palestinian flag and you can fly it high. The issue here is that kneecap opted to, and they themselves are saying that they didn't realise what they were doing. It's they themselves that opted to wave the flag of Hezbollah and to support Hamas, although they've retracted that support now. Hamas doesn't have universal support in Palestine either. You know, there's been protests taking place in Palestine over how they're approaching things. So my point being is to use your analogy, you can support the people of Gaza, or kneecap could have a massive Palestinian flag as a backdrop, you know. But anyway, I find myself in this awkward situation of trying to sort of balance this conversation out, but I could find myself being judged as supporting anything that's happening in Gaza, and I certainly wouldn't want to be in that position because it is horrendous. And we reflect in history, Pat. We reflect on history and say, how was that allowed to happen? That was crazy. Did no one stand up and say anything? And we kind of insulate ourselves with the fact that it wasn't us. And yet here we are, 2.3 million people. It's happening right now. It's happening on your phone. It's happening on your telly and your newspaper and on your radio. And for the most part, other than a bit of words, the world stands by and watches 2.3 million people being corralled into a tiny part of the world, and Israel saying we're taking it all over and we're actually going to provide minimal support to these people, saying it out loud. We're living in that now, really, and silence sometimes is complicity.
Yeah.
Complicity.
But it's the hypocrisy, I think, that's getting a lot of people, myself included. Keir Starmer issued a statement with several other leaders saying what Israel was doing was monstrous. There's a media report emanating last night saying that the British government, the spy plane, actually flew for Israel and an intelligence last night. So on the public, they're saying one thing, and behind this, by the way, the other thing, Greg, I meant to mention is Starmer has refused point blank and saying that they are not supplying Israel with a certain amount of armaments. Between October 2024 and December 2024, the British government tripled the supply of arms to Israel. So they're saying one thing and doing another. And by the way, there's a lot of we have to be very careful that we don't conflate Jewishness and Israeli. There's many Jewish people absolutely appalled at what's going on here and who do not support the Israeli government. So, and some of them are speaking out very, very bravely. I think it's a hypocrisy that the establishment are saying one thing and doing another. And remember the famous one after the concentration camps, never again. Well, it's happening and we're sitting watching it.
Pat McCart, thanks very much for accepting our invite. Lovely to talk to you as always. Thank you very much indeed. He's a former editor of the Derry Journal newspaper and podcaster now, and lots of other things as well, author.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
Be a winner and view the trophy collection at Brian McCormick Sports. Full colour awards, glass and crystal, perpetual cups and shields, sports awards, metal cups and medals. Whatever the occasion, click bmcsports.ie. Budget medals for sports days with personalised inserts to promote your club and school. Full engraving service available at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Luxury is not merely seen or heard or even touched. True luxury is experienced. It lies in the minute details that elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's quiet spoken, but leaves a lasting impression. You know it when you feel it. Luxury begins with L. Lexus. Experience amazing. Discover the all-electrified range at Lexus Letterkenny.
30 years of magic, 30 years of passion, 30 years of unforgettable performances. Riverdance 30, the new generation, is coming to the Gaiety Theatre in Dublin for a limited anniversary tour. Join us on Thursday the 28th of August to experience the rhythm and pure magic of Riverdance, live in the city where it all began. Luxury coach transfers, overnight accommodation on a bed and breakfast basis at the 4-star Grand Canal Hotel in the heart of Dublin. Fantastic seats to the show and free time to explore all that Dublin has to offer. Spaces are limited. Don't miss out on your chance to witness this iconic and unforgettable show. Contact us today on 9125,000 or check out The Outlet on highlandradio.com to book your place now.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Get set for summer with all new arrivals dropping every week, from fashion to footwear and homeware to cosmetics. Discover more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So, dry with sunny spells developing today. Highest temperatures 15 to 17 degrees in light northerly or variable winds. Okay, we're heading towards the last hour of the show. Thank you so much for sticking with us. It's great to have you here. A caller says, I've yet to hear anyone help me understand why what is happening in Gaza is allowed to continue regardless of what happened first. It's impossible to explain. How could you? You can try and justify it, and people do, and you can believe that justification, but you not on about for the initial response. But as to what's happening now, there is no one could justify or explain what is happening now. Legitimately, I don't think. Now, obviously, the line will be Hamas is hiding amongst these people, and Hamas has to be destroyed, and there's collateral damage. But for most decent people, that doesn't watch. I was watching the news recently, and it was said that regardless of what Europe does, if America doesn't agree, nothing will change, and they have no intention of going against Israel. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't do something. And I think globally. If a stand was taken, I think it would make it very difficult for the United States not to put pressure on. Now, they don't have to condemn what Israel does, but they have the power to stop what Israel is doing. That's the critical thing. They might not publicly slam Israel, but they can certainly make them stop what they're doing. Donald Trump has that within his gift.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all Hotel Collection duvet sets are still all half price, and all dinnerware sets are still all 33% off. But when all the half-price Hotel Collection duvet sets and all the 33% off dinnerware sets are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor, with a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop, serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Getting your first electric car is like meeting your partner's family for the first time. Nerves are normal. You were stressed about awkward silence with her dad. Now you chat for hours about sport. You worried her mum wouldn't like you. Now she likes you better than her own son. Likewise, once you experience how great an EV can be, you'll never look back, especially if it's a Skoda. Order your electric Enyaq or Elrock today.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Clare Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny. Would you believe we are open 25 years this weekend? Come celebrate with us, and our gift to you is 25% discount off all clothes. At Clare Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update and say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Taoiseach says Kneecap's terrorism offence charge in the UK is a matter for the courts. Micheál Martin says the government will provide consular assistance to any Irish citizens who need it. Liam O'Gohany, also known as Mukhara, will appear in court next month after being accused of flying a Hezbollah flag at a concert. The Taoiseach says members of the band have been clear they do not support Hezbollah or Hamas. 35 new jobs are to be created in Letterkenny as B&Q announces the opening of its new store in the town. The 35,000 square foot store will open on Friday, May the 30th at the site of the former Homebase store at Letterkenny Retail Park. The company has confirmed that some staff who were previously employed by Homebase, which closed earlier this year, have transferred to B&Q. The family of Rebecca Brown, who died after being struck by a Garda patrol car in Buncrana in 2023, says the fight for truth and justice still burns 2 years on. A decision was made last year not to prosecute the Garda involved in the 21-year-old's death. Police have launched a review of the murder of a teenager in County Tyrone over 50 years ago. 18-year-old Marion Beattie's body was found at the bottom of a quarry near Auchnacloy in March 1973. She was last seen leaving a charity dance in the town with a young man and walking in the direction of Hayden's quarry. Latest figures have revealed that 17 greyhounds were injured or euthanised at Lifford Greyhound Stadium in the first 4 months of this year. Figures from Greyhound Racing Ireland show 6 dogs were euthanised in Lifford, the second highest figure in the country. Meanwhile, 11 were injured at the stadium. Investigations are continuing after a car was kicked and damaged while waiting at traffic lights in Derry on Monday morning. At around 22:08, a man approached the black BMW X5 while stationary at traffic lights at Culmore Road roundabout near Foyle Bridge and kicked the driver's door and wing mirrors several times, causing damage. And 9 projects in Donegal have secured almost €146,000 in funding for heritage initiatives. The Heritage Council grants are intended to allow local communities to conserve and celebrate their built cultural and natural heritage. The projects benefiting in Donegal include an ongoing sustainable access project at Errigal Mountain, repair works at Kilbarron Castle and church repair works at Clonlee, St Johnston and Ramelton. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Michaela, thanks so very much. We'll be back with more after this very short break.
The closing date for the Bus Air and School Transport online portal is Friday, 6th of June. The portal will close for 3 weeks after this date. To make a payment or enter medical card details, go to busaaron.ie/school transport. Ticket prices remain the same as last year. A late payment may mean that a school transport ticket is not available for your child. An initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. A caller says, I do not believe for a moment that Kneecap support Hezbollah. They were trying to shock people by making an extreme gesture. If they'd flown a Palestinian flag, it would have had minimal impact. The US, Britain, France, Germany and many European countries should be ashamed for helping Israel to commit genocide. Israel is committing genocide, says another. Kneecap scenario was only another deflection to steer your attention away from the truth, same as they use the new hate speech or anti-terrorism laws to suit their agenda. I suppose I'll be anti-Semitic now for writing this text. Will I keep my eyes open for a visit from the authorities now? I don't think so. Right, I want to say hello now to Tommy Walsh, founder and lead coach of Neurodiverse FC. Good morning to you, Tommy. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having us on.
Neurodiverse FC, it started last April, and it really has grown from strength to strength. Before we get to its expansion, what was the idea behind its establishment and for whom?
Well, I have I was 18 when I moved to Liverpool, and I spent my sort of whole adult life, if you like, working in football full-time in England. And me and my wife had our first child, a little boy called Ted. And probably about 18 months, 2 years old, we started to realise that he maybe wasn't hitting certain developmental marks. And at 3 years of age, after going through a lot of processes, we were told he was autistic. And then we had our second baby. So we were sitting living in Liverpool for 4 years, really. And we didn't have a lot of family support. It was just us. And when the second baby came along, Greg, it was just we kind of had to move home back to Ireland to have that support. And when you spend a lot of your career working in football in England, and you come back to Ireland and there's no real full-time jobs, you're sitting there thinking, what are you going to do? And I had brought my little lad to different sessions, grassroots sessions and things like that, just to try and get him involved with things and meet friends and things like that. And I was really sort of struck by there wasn't a lot of things out there that was good for him. And it's not a knock on any grassroots coaches or anything like that, because they do a lot of good work and they do it for the love of whatever sport it is and whatever community that they're in. But I just thought to myself, where do I take my son, who maybe isn't going to be able to cope in a mainstream environment at the moment? And sort of with my background as a coach, and I'd worked for the FA, for example, for 10 years, so I've a lot of experience working with children and then obviously elite players with varying abilities. I thought, well, I've got the skill sets to do something. And I just set up a little session in Oma. And like a lot of things, Greg, you end up in a situation because you've been affected by something in your life, or in my case, I have a child with autism, and it was just to try and give him and other children an opportunity to play sport and engage with sport sort of outside a mainstream environment, if a mainstream environment was something that they struggled to cope in.
Yeah, but it makes
And,
sense too that you're
that's where
able
it
to
started.
draw in your expertise, your passion, but also your understanding of inclusion. So, I mean, your situation is to the benefit of lots of families, and I'm sure we'll hear from them as the conversation continues. So, is it easy to pinpoint what's different at a camp or training or what have you for neurodiverse children versus those that aren't?
Well, I mean, I think that I suppose when you're looking at mainstream environments, if you like, sometimes the tempos of the sessions are really fast. Maybe the information comes quite quick. And at the end of the day, I think it's really important that we know that neurodiversity just means that you learn and you pick up information in a different way, and maybe you process things in a different way. And for a lot of the children that I would work with now every week, they process information a little bit slower. So the session tempo needs to be a little bit less. I think something that you see in mainstream environments as well, Greg, you'd have a lot of drill-based activities. And what I mean by that is, stop, stand still, standing in lines, dribbling and beating cones and things like that. And, when you're working with children with low attention spans, they're not going to stand there for 3-4 minutes and wait their turn.
Yeah,
They're going to
gotcha.
run. And the sessions that we do are very much about, it's teaching games for understanding. So there's no standing still, there's no waiting around. It's all fun games, but football is the sort of the forum that sort of drives that. And then all the things that kind of come out of the sessions really is the key thing. So I suppose for us, what we want in our sessions, yes, it's football. Yes, that's the platform, if you like, and we're working on their little skills and keeping it close, taking little touches, not using their hands, things like that, which obviously, if you're working, and I do work with a lot of mainstream children in the schools as well, and they're easily able to pick that up. The neurodiverse children, some of them would struggle to not use their hands, just as an example. So there's a difference in where the session pace has to be that little bit
And you
slower.
have to, and that understanding has to be there. So as the word has got out and this has grown, have you found that parents who we all want our children to be involved and have the best, and especially with other children, but maybe they're not neurodivergent, but maybe have a health issue or a disability, but they can still, of course, get involved. Are you getting interest from parents of other children that feel, right, maybe my child can fit into this space because I really am upset that they aren't catered for elsewhere?
Yeah, I think what we're starting to get a lot more of as well, Greg, is maybe children who've gone into a mainstream environment and have had a bad experience, and then they've spoke to other parents or whatever it is, and they've said about the environment that we have, sort of how relaxed it is and how inclusive it is, and ultimately what our environment promotes more than anything else is for the children to have the courage to be themselves. That's massive. They don't have to fit in. We want them to be able to have the confidence to stand out and celebrate who they are. That's huge for us in terms of what our environment's about. So we are getting more and more children. Like we would have, I mean, across our centres now, we have a lot of children with Down syndrome, for example. We have children who, as you say, have had health issues and can't compete in mainstream environments just because of the physicality aspect. And we have children as well, for example, with maybe higher levels of anxiety. that are coming that are neurotypical in terms of how they learn and every other way. But it's just the anxiety of maybe going into a team environment at
Yeah,
the
but I
moment.
like the
is too
presence
much.
of the inclusivity of neurotypical children as well, because while they're working on themselves, they're also a better understanding of our differences, and we all just want to be the best or achieve as much as we're individually capable of doing so, and that's the kind of work that you've been doing. So it started off in Oma. But this expansion then happened really quickly. So are you training people to under sort of the umbrella of Neurodiverse FC in different areas, or how are you accommodating the kids in the likes of Letterkenny, Strabane and Enniskillen, etc.? Because it
So it's all
started in
me.
Oma, by the way, I should point out.
Yeah. So it's all me. So basically, how it's evolved is we started in Oma this time last year. So we're only a year in operation. We would have had a lot of children and parents coming from Strabane, and they said to me, "Look, there's a wild need in Strabane. Would you be able to come here?" So when they were asking me, I wanted to accommodate everyone, because at the end of the day, I always come back to it. Like, the purpose of this is to sort of establish a community where people feel supported and they feel that they can be championed to be who they are. So when people ask, I just can't say no. So I've ended up in Strabane, and from Strabane, we had a lot of kids and parents from Letterkenny, and I was just kind of looking at it and going, well, if there's enough people to be able to do it, and we can find a venue, which is massive because the venues are indoors, that's really important, especially with the weather. I know we've been having great weather at the minute, but
We can't plan around that,
cold weather
Tommy.
in the rain, it's easy.
Yeah.
Because the big thing, honestly though, Greg, the big thing here with this is what I want for this is I want the children to have that feeling of what it's like to be a part of a team and come to training sessions or fun sessions, but training sessions that we would have been used to every week. And if it's not indoors, we wouldn't be able to get that consistency. So the indoor side of things is huge. But then it's ended up in Letterkenny, and then we've ended up in Derry, and then Enniskillen, and now we're starting in Sligo in July on a Thursday evening. So it really has gone in the last 12 months.
So,
like
but
you
there's
wouldn't
only
believe
one
in
of
the
you,
schools
though,
we've been
Tommy.
into.
Obviously, you've created something here that's grown organically, and the reason I presume it's grown organically is word of mouth, but also to a gap, something that wasn't there for all of these children, and it's bringing great joy to the children. But I never underestimate what it means for mum or dad to see something different in their child. Or to see a development in their child, or to see their anxiety reduced, or to see their confidence increase, or whatever it might be. So, how are you, as an individual, right? You can only be in so many places at once. Do you see this expanding even further, training other people up under your guidance, or what?
Yeah, that would definitely be like. I mean, at the end of the day, when we started this, when I started it, I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I'm someone who has a big vision. But ultimately, this is a football for all program, and I really want every child to have the opportunity to experience sport, or if it through the form of football, and have that opportunity. Because maybe I've grown up, maybe you're the same, Greg. We've grown up and we've taken for granted the power of being in a team,
Yeah.
and how much fun and the memories and the friendships that you make from it. And it sounds a little bit maybe silly, but every child should experience Santa. Every child should also experience being a part of a team if that's possible. So for me, I want it to be available to every child in the country across every county. So I know that as it grows, we have to upskill people. But and that's definitely something we're certainly going to maybe look at in sort of the next 6 months. But it's making sure that we get the right people in. Like, I think one of the reasons why this really does work, Greg, is because I actually live the experience of the parents, me and my wife, every day. And every day is a different day. And don't get me wrong, one thing I will really say, if there are parents listening to this, like, neurodiversity, like, look at it as a superpower. It makes you so unique, in a world where we have so many people that are trying to fit in. I think a lot of the children I work with, they're so unique. Their personalities are so class. And that's such a great starting
Yeah, but
point.
you can
It
see
really,
them.
really is.
You can see that in them, and that's the beautiful thing. Huge interest in 5 to 12-year-olds. There is also groups for 12 to 16. Why do you think there's less interest in that age group? Is it that maybe people are more locked into their lives at that point, or their routines, or maybe the word hasn't gotten out, or maybe they might go, that's not for me, if they can advocate for themselves? This is hugely popular in the 5 to 12-year-olds, but I did see a reference to 12 to 16-year-olds, and I'm just curious from your insight, Tommy, why that might be less interest in that category, who you'd think really would benefit even more so from that sort of group team situation.
Yeah, and what I would say is that, if there was the interest in 12 to 16-year-olds, we would definitely try and find a way to make it work 100%. But I think one of the reasons why this has grown is the primary schools have been very, very good at sharing our community sessions. And I've been in so many primary schools working with primary school children. I think when you go into secondary school, you have your actual PE department.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult to bring maybe external people like me in, because that's the job of the PE teachers, if you like. So that can be one reason. But also I think that, if you're looking at children now at 13, 14, 15, I think in the last sort of 5 years, this is neurodiversity has become, very, very hot topic of conversations, but particularly in education. And I just think that, you could have a generation of kids there that maybe has gone under the radar, maybe have been undiagnosed or things like that. And also, don't forget, they're moving into that adolescence phase. So there's other things coming into their life as well.
Yeah.
Peer relationships, and, maybe there's more stuff in terms of their after school. And also maybe that 12 to 16 year age group are actually in teams across other sports, or maybe it's individual sports.
There's lots of reasons. So
there's many reasons, but if there was interest there, we would absolutely try our best to help people as much as we possibly could.
Tommy, it's been lovely chatting to you about Neurodiverse FC and learning about its growth and the work that you do. But I suppose, what would you like to use this platform for? We're broadcasting across the Northwest, of course, and across the world online. Like, what message would you like to get to? Who do you want to reach? What's your proposition? I don't know what the word is, but who are you trying to reach today?
Well, I think it's just sort of getting the message out there and understanding what we are. We are an inclusive environment. Our sessions are all based on a curriculum. It's all about fun and enjoyment. Every child gets their own ball, but it's not just trying to develop little football players or developing fundamental movement skills. What the true crux of the sessions we deliver, and I deliver, is to try and help the children in their everyday lives. So one thing a lot of children would be called statements. In England, we would call them educational healthcare plans. And on them, you would see different things that they would have to maybe try and tick in terms of their development throughout school and social settings and things like that. And we try and get that out. So our sessions will help the children with their concentration and focus, their ability to problem solve and stay on task, developing relationships with others. That's massive, and developing friendships and understanding social boundaries. And as I say, helping them develop resilience and confidence and courage in themselves. All of these things that will help them hopefully in their wider life.
Brilliant, yeah.
That's the real magic of what we do.
You're doing it in Omagh and a skill in Strabane at Kenny. Sligo's on the way in July. If people want more information, Tommy, about what you're doing, because we're definitely going to be reaching people today that are that this would suit, but they just weren't aware of it yet. So how do people get more information, Tommy?
They can go on our Facebook, so it's neuro.diverse.fc, or they can contact me at thomas.walsh@neurodiversefc.com. And what I will say, Greg, just because I know you had a lot of people in Donegal, on the 8th of June, we're starting sessions every Monday in the Inver Community Centre as well.
Oh, brilliant. Down south. Fantastic.
So that's on down there and towards Donegal town as well, towards the back end of July. So we're quite heavy presence in Donegal.
Exactly. I love to see services all over the county, but particularly it's nice to hear that down in South Donegal. And I'm not sure if you've been on with Ocean FM. They've a reach in there as well, but it would be great to hear you on there as well, to make sure everyone in that region gets the best opportunity to get involved. Thanks so much, Tommy Walsh. He is founder and lead coach of Neurodiverse FC. What an amazing man. And it's so often what we see, and you don't have to have a neurodiverse child to get it. I understand that. But it's when, whether it's a hotel that's owned by people that understand, or a bar, or a play facility, or a restaurant, or a sports academy, they just get it because it's their lived experience, and Tommy gets it, and he's doing amazing work there. If your child has actually gone to one of the Neurodiverse FC camps or training sessions, or however the phrase, I'd love to hear from you, just the lived experience. 086 60 25,000 from the north, 0035386 60 25,000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Loganair says, let the wee ones fly. Kids aged 11 and under go fare free this summer. Just pay the taxes. Book by the 25th of May for travel from the 1st of June 2025. Find deals at loganair.co.uk. T's and C's apply, subject to availability. Children must travel with a full fare-paying accompanying adult.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with their bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9am until 5pm and on Saturdays from 9am until 3:30pm. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
Summer Sounds at Harvey's Point. Every Wednesday from May the 21st until June the 25th, a magical evening of music, song and dance from some of Ireland's greatest stars. Gourmet dinner, the warmest of welcomes. Don't delay. Book today. harveyspoint.com or 074 972 2208. That magical evening on the shores of Loch Esk awaits.
Join Paul McDevitt and the Highland Radio Whiteside broadcast team live from Hidden Hearing, Pearse Road, Letterkenny this Saturday between 12 and 2pm, celebrating 15 years in business. Ireland's leading healthcare provider, Hidden Hearing, has a long-standing reputation for exceptional service. Come meet the team, enjoy some refreshments, win a prize, plus there's a special appearance by Donegal's very own Daniel O'Donnell. It's all happening this Saturday. Come along and join in the fun and celebrate with Hidden Hearing and Highland Radio. Live on location in Letterkenny this Saturday from 12 till 2pm.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It is 22 minutes past 11 and it's the eve of Relay for Life. And patron of Relay for Life is Magella O'Donnell. Magella, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Fantastic. And this is a big weekend on the calendar, isn't it? Relay for Life. It's back at the ATU Letterkenny, Saturday the 24th, Sunday the 25th of May. And it promises to be I was going to say a wonderful weekend, and it is wonderful, but in many different ways. You know, survivors, remembering those who we've lost, remember those or supporting those who are on their cancer journey. It covers such a wide gambit of our community.
It does, absolutely, yes. It's a fantastic day out, and of course I come on this time every year, you know, asking people or telling people, making them aware about it. It starts at 3pm on Saturday the 24th, and it goes on until 4pm on Sunday the 25th. So we have relays going around of groups of people, teams, who will be walking around the park for 24 hours. There's about 37 teams we have this year, and we're always looking for more. So I was kind of urging people to come along if they can. It's really full on, fun packed stuff that's going on. There's lots of music all the time. The stalls, well, not stalls, but like there's
gazebos, isn't there? Yeah,
that the teams have, and they have different games, and you know, you can get teas and coffees and cakes, and like I said, the music and the walking is going on all the time. We're always asking for volunteers. It needs volunteers to help run it every year, but it's a fantastic thing to do, and we'd love to see more survivors coming, because there is a fantastic sense of camaraderie there, you know, in the Letterkenny Technical Place. it's a fantastic couple of days. So I'm urging people to come along. Daniel is doing a concert actually on Sunday at 2:10. That will be going on till about 3:30. We have our luminary service, which is the most magical service that you can imagine, at 10:30 on Saturday night, where all these candles, bags of candles, are lit. They're placed around the pitch, and they're all lit. And there's music then with Moya Brennan and the Survivors Choir, and it's fantastic. Have you come down to it yourself?
I have,
Greg,
of course, yes. We were down last year and the year before and
Right.
previous
Yeah,
years as
yeah.
well. There's something particularly special about it. And I want to talk more about the event, but I also want to emphasise the fact that people may wish to support this event, and not everyone can get out. It might not suit everyone, but there are many different ways that you can support and there's lots of people selling the Candle of Hope bags, and it's a lovely
That's
way to
right.
remember people as well, but they're only a £5 each, and it joins in that Candle of Hope ceremony, which is on the 24th at dusk, and
That's
for many
right.
people it's an emotional roller coaster. There's joy, there's remembrance, there's sadness. It's all there, but that's one way that you can donate if you can't attend, because as I say, there's always a great attendance, Magella, but not everyone can get there, and then people can feel helpless because they want to do their bit. There's one example.
Absolutely, yes. The candles, the bags are being sold, as we speak in outlets around Letterkenny, and as you said, £5 a bag, and with the name of the person you want to remember or that you want to celebrate or pray for or whatever is put on the bags, and then they're all laid out, a bag per candle. Like last year we had 5,000 bags, and it's the most magical thing, because it's so quiet. Everybody, even though it's absolutely packed, you could hear a pin drop, and there's lovely candlelit sort of parade, and it really is magical. And it isn't just about remembering people that have gone, as you said. It's also to support people who are going through it, and to celebrate the people that have been
And not
through it.
everybody calls themselves a survivor. You don't have to be a survivor. You can, whatever way you want to reflect on your journey with cancer, that's perfectly fine. It's all inclusive and
Absolutely.
everybody's welcome. You don't have to say anything. You can just be there amongst other people. There is stuff on from the get-go right till the very end. There's so many highlights. You remember, you mentioned there a concert from Daniel O'Donnell, but our Sinead Black is there. We also
That's
have our
right.
David James there, but there's so many other brilliant bands as well. Annie Biddy's there, who's doing great things at the moment. Hard to Beat, Johnny Haughey, Mark Doherty. I could go on and on and on. I'd be there all day. But if you land there, you're going to have a wonderful time. There's just something about it. And, it bounced back big time last year. And hopefully there'll be a few showers about, but hopefully the rain won't dampen spirits. I'm sure it won't, Magella. They're very lucky to have you as a patron as well, of course, lending your...
I like to do my bit.
Of course, indeed.
As you know.
All right,
I
of
mean,
course we do.
We never expected that, we'd end up, one of us having cancer. So 1 in 2 people, they say now, will be diagnosed with it in their lifetime. So we really need all the support we can get, and that is, support financially, and the support by showing up and showing people that you care. It's a wonderful thing.
Listen, Magella, thank you so very much indeed. We really do appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on and giving it another push.
problem.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
Magella.
Greg.
Look after yourself. Thanks so very much indeed. So, on Saturday at 3:30 p.m, Michaela Harkin, Rachel Gibbons. Then there's the opening ceremony with the Survivors Choir. There's something going on throughout the course of the day. Our David James there, he's going to be up on stage at 8 p.m. There's Irish dancing. There's the Ukulele Orchestra. They're going to be performing Saturday night. Daniel O'Donnell is going to be there on Saturday night. He's introducing the luminary ceremony. And then things continue throughout the course of the night. Then on Sunday, from there's stuff happening from very early, by the way. But then from 10 o'clock, we've got service with Highland Radio. Then at 12:30 p.m, our own Shade Black. Callum Keaveney, he's a great supporter. He's there every year. He's on at 1. Hugo Duncan's there. Then Jason McCahill. Daniel O'Donnell is going to be doing a concert backed by John Staunton. That's at 2:10 on Sunday. And then things wrap up at around about 4 o'clock. So lots going on. If you can get down, please do. Should we have a little listen to a bit of Daniel from last year, just to whet our appetites? Let's see if we can hear Daniel. Daniel, can you sing for me, please?
No man is an island, and I need you, honest I do. It took an awful lot of looking to find you. Oh, what a time I've been through.
What a voice. That's Daniel O'Donnell singing live last year, and there's so much else happening over the weekend. Right. Well, there is a legend there in Daniel O'Donnell, and I'm going to be speaking to another musical legend. And as I say, I don't bandy that phraseology about. I'm going to be talking to another living legend after we take this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 or apply online via our app or in office today. Save 20% of all plants, ceramic pots and True Temper garden tools this Friday 23rd and Saturday 24th of May at Homeland Letterkenny. Join us in store for advice and demos. Meet our experienced Homeland Garden Centre team with an in-store raffle and more. Visit homeland.ie for more information.
Save more with real rewards at Doherty SuperValue Carndonagh. Walker's 6-pack only €1.50. My Waddy 1 litre €2. Incredible value every week. Unlock exclusive savings and shop smart, where rewards really add up. Only at Doherty SuperValue Carndonagh.
We carry those up long before the day breaks, who make our lives better, whatever it takes. And for those who need some extra assistance, we'll get you on board. We'll go the distance. With new electric vehicles, quiet and cleaner, our growing TFI network helps keep Ireland greener for the days of your life and the big nights out too. We're Transport for Ireland. We're transport for you.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Calling all self-builders and rebuilders. Are you planning to build an A-rated energy-efficient home? Join Castle Forums for a free information day this Saturday at the Clannery Hotel, Letterkenny from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Build faster, warmer and more cost-effectively with ICF walls and insulated foundations from Castle Forums.
Discover the hidden gem of Letterkenny, La Papa Kitchen and Coffee House, where you can indulge with friends in delicious Buddha bowls, pastas, light bites and organic coffee. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Remember the name, La Papa, located next to KO Fitness and McGinley's Furniture on Joe Bonner Road. Open 7 days a week, 9 to 5 Monday to Friday and 10 to 2 on Sunday.
It's interesting the way life can be, because for the last couple of days, I have not been able to get Thunder in My Heart out of my head over and over again. And it's gone from the original to the, was it Beck that did a remix of it there a couple of years ago. But the man behind that track is Leo Sayer. And I'm delighted to welcome him on the programme today. Isn't it strange, Leo? I've been constantly going over in my head the last couple of days before I knew you were coming on.
Well, it's a song from 1977, and you know, it got remixed by this guy DJ Mech, and but he didn't actually do it. There's a guy behind it called Lee Dagger, who was the genius who did it, and he's a DJ living out in Las Vegas now, and we do a lot of tracks together, me and Lee. So you know, it had a long life. I mean, God, when you know, it was really weird that when it became a number one in England, I'd already moved to Australia where I'm living now, and I had to fly back and do all these TV shows. And I think I was on a young group called Blue, you know,
Oh
young
yeah,
boy group.
Blue, yeah.
Yeah, Blue, yeah. And all the kids were screaming for them on the way in. And by the time I'd done my song and my performance, they're all screaming at me and ignoring Blue. So
I'm
it's
not
it's funny
surprised.
how things,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a crack.
it worked,
How
you
does that?
know.
How do you? Do you enjoy sort of, you know, obviously making new music, but reimagining, reinventing, you know, the older stuff for a new audience? I'm not sure how much artistic control you have on that, but it's all you, right? Because it's your words, your music, your melody.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy that?
I love it. I mean, it comes also from doing covers, you know. I mean, like I've had a few great covers of songs that I didn't write,
Yeah.
you know, but like More Than I Can Say, which was a Buddy Holly's backing band, that Sonny Curtis and Jerry Allison wrote that, and they were in the Crickets, you know. And then, you know, When I Need You was written by Albert Hammond. So when you're covering a song, you're trying to sort of make it your original thing. So it's a very similar process when you look at an old song and try and remake it
Yes.
of your own.
But if you hear, if
always
someone
put on a
hears,
different hat.
sorry, Leo, if someone hears you though, your voice is so unique, it's instantly recognizable.
Recognizable, yeah.
Exactly. When I Need You, Long Tall Glasses, More Than I Can Say.
Yeah.
You make me feel like dancing. You know, you've the whole gambit there. You know, brilliant disco pop, amazing ballads, and it's the longevity of the music, Leo. Do you know what I mean? That stuff sounds as fresh now as it did when it was released. It's still relevant. There's still songs that people will slow dance to or boogie to at a barbecue.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long cycle, you know, because I just turned 77, I mean, yesterday.
Congratulations and happy birthday. It's all the 77s. 77, Thunder
It's
in
my
my
lucky
heart.
number.
77.
But, you know, the Chinese have double happiness as 2 8s, right?
Yes.
And I've always had 77. I've lived in so many places that were number 77. I've had so many phone numbers that were 77.
Wow.
And 1977, yeah, as we're saying now, it was that golden year, you know, for me, when got 2 American number ones and my first platinum record in the States and, you know, hits all over the world. It was just an incredible time. But I think that sometimes, you know, artists have a signature in their voice. Look at Paul McCartney. You'll always recognize his voice. It's completely unhideable, you know. You can't hide it. It's there in everything he does. You know, and even if he's going on stage with Bruce Springsteen and singing a couple of lines, you know, it's Paul, you know, immediately. So, and I've got one of those voices. And do you know, it's funny. Sometimes I'm in a restaurant and I'm just speaking to somebody, and somebody comes over. Oh, yeah, that's Leo Sayer, isn't it?
Well,
So
Leo,
they recognize
Leo,
you from your speaking
as
voice,
distinctive
you know?
as distinctive as your voice is. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's that what's drawing them, because you are obviously instantly recognizable, and you know,
Oh,
have
big head of
retained.
hair.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not, but you've just you've retained your youthful looks, and you are, you know, you are distinctive in that way. Do you like that? Do you like people approaching you? Because it's all selfies now, isn't it?
Right.
Not people aren't looking for signatures as much now; they want a picture.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, the moment what was it, Orson? Well, Oscar Wilde say, you know, the only thing worse than being recognised is not being recognised.
Yes.
So it's, you know, it's part of the game, and I think that, you know, you have to kind of. I mean, look, I have the best job in the world. Come on, I go around the world making people happy, giving them pleasure, and I get paid for that. You know, so why shouldn't I sort of be allowed to? Why shouldn't I allow a bit of intrusion every now and then? You know, you can't have all your privacy and be popular as well. It happens, you know, it's great. So I forget I'm Leo Sayer most of the time. I'm on Gerard Hughes Sayer is my real name. And I'll be walking down the road and somebody beeps in from a car because they've recognized me walking down the road. And then I'm suddenly reminded I'm Leo. Oh my God.
Yeah,
There
it's
you
great
go.
though that you have the platform and the great health to recognize and enjoy what you're doing, because they do say youth is wasted on the young, and you know, you wonder how many artists will look back and it can be very brief in 10 or 15 years and think, oh, did I really enjoy that when I had it all and now it's gone? You're lucky you've had it your entire career.
Being 77, I'm so aware that there's so many friends of mine that are, you know, that can still sing and still perform, but they're retiring at the moment because they just don't want to go around the same circuit again and again and again. And I can understand that. I can dig it, you know, but me, I want to die on stage. You know, I'll be very happy. I don't want to die on stage really, but you know what I mean? I'm happy to go in until they drag me off, you know. because I love what I'm doing. And somebody said to me just earlier today, oh, but you have to sing those same hits again. Doesn't that? No, it's not
What a
boring. I
gift.
celebrate them. I love them.
Yeah.
And we slightly, live, we slightly rearrange songs to kind of bring them up to a point where we're all enjoying playing them, me and the band. So you add little nuances to it as time goes on. I mean, you watch Bruce Springsteen, and you'll see that in Bruce Springsteen. The way that they play the numbers is slightly changed. Hang on, that's a better bass line on the piano now. It's Born to Run. Whoa, the solos. Yeah, they've really done the solo now. So there's no reason why things can't evolve.
Yeah,
in
for
other
sure.
words, and if you're still performing at this age, you allow them to evolve.
Yeah,
and also
but we're
voice
also
changes slightly as well, so you've got to adjust to that.
Yeah.
You might lower a key.
But thankfully, we're also talking in an area where 77 is actually young. I mean, if you go back 50 years ago and you were talking to someone 77, it's like knocking on heaven's door. But now, you could tour for another 10 years, looking after yourself, which is amazing, I think, in this day and age now.
Well, there's also an incredible trade between the young and the old now. I mean, I just did, the show Pop Idol, where they have
Yes.
Australian Idol down here, and I appeared doing this guy who won, called Marshall Hamburger. What a great name, eh? I did a duet with him during the finals. The finals are two days over. Next day he won the competition. They say the duet that I did with him on "You Make Me Feel Like Dancing" pushed it over the edge over his fellow competitors. But there was this incredible wave that I got from all these young people who suddenly discovered Leo Sayer for 3 weeks. I was just like top dog, because the trade that's going, and just in the same way, look at Elton John, and we all want to work with younger artists and bring them on, so we're doing this incredible trade where our music from the 70s and our relevance from that time now to sort of legacy status is really, can be really valuable to the young when they discover it. Look at TikTok, and little TikToks come up, and we're talking about some new ones at the moment and thinking of some clever ideas to do, with the team in America, and it's all marketing, and you find ways to relive the songs. I mean, You Make Me Feel Like Dancing's been on so many movies recently. I mean, it's they pick it out as an ad going in America at the minute, and somebody called me and said, "Do you know someone's using your song on an advertisement?" Well, of course I know, because I okayed it.
I'm waiting on the envelope.
Yeah. So in other words,
Yep.
however much we have to categorize the peak time of people like me, say your 20s and your 30s, it just goes on. It's like wine. It just doesn't die, You can open a 1946 bottle of Chateau Talbot and it will be as good today,
yes,
but worth incredibly much more.
but of course, Leo, but also the reality is though a song that's going to a song that's going to continue, a song that's got life, and then a song that's fleeting, and you have an amazing catalogue of songs that will be played long after me and you are pushing up the daisies. And that's why it's amazing to be able to be speaking to you in the context of you coming to our beautiful Ireland in July. And you're all over the place, which is fantastic. It's great that people have access to you. 11th of July, the National Opera House in Wexford. The 12th of July, Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. The 13th of July, the Cork Opera House. And the 25th of July, Ulster Hall, Belfast. All of those are reachable from our perspective, but the Ulster Hall, Belfast, particularly convenient. And, Van Morrison, if you see him perform, he has his own way of doing it. Sometimes
many times.
Sometimes he might do it with his back to the audience if he's not in the mood,
For him, unpredictable. Yeah, no, I love Van.
But I think you're going to bring it. You'll bring it every show. Not that Van doesn't, but you're forward facing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the difference. Yeah, he's more in the rearview mirror, his own. But look, I mean, I grew up in Fermanagh,
really?
with my parents, because my mother came from a little town called Maguire's Bridge, near Enniskillen, and so that was my youth. I was born in Shoreham by Sea, and we were based there. That's where my father was a hospital engineer. My mother was an ex-nurse, came from Ireland, just like all the nurses came over.
Very
and
familiar,
and basically, every summer holiday, we would pack up the family, get in the car, get the ferry, come over to Ireland. So from 4 to 16 years old, every year was in Ireland, in Fermanagh. Or Cavan, just running backwards and forwards over the border because all the family was around there. Or Donegal, and we were, that Irish thing got into my bloodstream. And you know what the Irish thing is? It's a performance thing because Cayleys, dance halls, everybody in the family could do something like, if not music, they could do something art-wise or painting, or they could do something like acting, or they could tell a good limerick, or they could tell a poem, So I grew up in that creative atmosphere, which I didn't really get in England, because if you figure at that time, it was after the war, things were a bit serious, in England. I even have a ration card, from that time, because it was that close, 1948, when I was born, after the war, until about 1956, you didn't have any sugar, or anything like that. But that was cool. But we come over to Ireland, and it would be just joy,
Yeah, we
so
can't wait
Ireland's
to have
in my
you
heart
over.
very much.
Excellent. Leo, I mean, obviously the obvious question is what's the favourite song that you've performed? So, I mean, we can ask that as well, but I just wonder, does it change over time? Or if maybe a song that for the wider audience maybe went a little under the radar that has a more of a significance to you, or maybe as we mature, something resonates a bit more with us than it might have in the past. Do you have one that is closest to you, even if it may not be your favourite?
Oh, Giving It All Away, Just a Boy, is really the favourite because, for me, it's the most important song, put it like that. It's the most relevant one because it still means something every time I sing it, and I still feel that kind of, I don't know, kind of, what can I say? I'm going to prove you wrong kind of song, So I was just a boy giving it all away, but I know better now, and there's a determination in there of a young guy, And as soon as we wrote that, David Courtney and I, we knew we had something special. And of course, we gave it to Roger Daltrey. He had a fantastic hit with it. He recorded his first album before even my first album. It's held up so that he could put his album out. And One Man Band was on that album of his as well. Daltrey, it was called. And Roger of The Who, of course, as everybody knows. So basically, I knew at that time it was something that I loved to perform. And I still do now. It still is a high point for me of the show,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we listen to same songs all through our lives. Why wouldn't you listen to your own? Okay, listen, Leo, thank you so much. It's been really, really wonderful speaking to you, especially someone who's so iconic, but also still so relevant as well. But it couldn't be to a nicer person because you clearly are a lovely person. And we really look forward to seeing you in Ireland in July. Are you speaking to me from a house or an antique shop? Because it looks like you have...
I'll turn around.
My
It's
word.
Well, I'll tell you what
Are you
we're
a
doing at the
collector,
minute.
Leo?
No. We're camping out in my studio at the moment. This is actually my studio barn.
Oh, lovely.
Because the house is being renovated just next door. And we've been going on for 6 months rebuilding this house. It's been such a saga,
It looks like you've
Greg.
designed this. Sorry if this is
No,
almost
no,
accidental.
these lamps fit much better in the house than they do in here. But we're storing a lot of stuff. I'll show you around. I mean, there's all the Leo pictures on the wall there.
Yes.
As it usually is.
That's fantastic.
And I'll take you on another little
Go on
trip.
then,
Hang
Leo.
on.
I've in no
I'll
panic.
show you where my studio is.
Yeah, please
so
do.
the studio's behind here. So this is where all the records are made.
Oh, wow.
In place here. So yeah, we've had to take it over as our front room at the moment. And Donatella, my wife, and I, we are sleeping in the cottage at the front here. So it does look like an antique market. My God, I've only just realised.
Well, no, I mean that not in a way, in any
No, I
other way
know.
than envy, because it looks so lovely.
It's the Antiques Leo show.
Listen, we can't wait to have you back to Ireland, home to Ireland.
I can't wait to come
hopefully,
home.
maybe you
Great.
get to your schedule's so busy though, but I'm sure you might try and swing past Enniskillen or Cavan. Thank you so much. Best wishes
I'm gonna
to you.
try. I always will, because basically I love the pubs around there. Newtown Butler. Man, it's like I love this area. It's so gorgeous.
I don't know what I want to play out with one of your songs, and I don't know what to. Okay, I'm going to decide that. I'm going to decide that now.
Go on. Yeah, I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
going to show you something very quickly
Go
here.
on, please,
I've
yeah.
I've played all these venues before, and look at that. There's a poster there on my studio wall for Cork Opera House, 1989.
And you haven't changed a bloody bit.
Well, some bits, you know.
Well, not much,
I'll tell you
Leo.
what,
Not much.
it's a weird thing being this age and feeling like energetic and wonderful, but at the same time, you know your bones are old.
Love to
You can't get
Donatella
away.
and everybody around you, Leo. Thank you so much for being so generous with your
Thanks,
time.
Greg.
God bless you, and we look forward to welcoming you home. That is Leo Sayer. He is in the National Opera House, Wexford, on the 11th of July, the Bode Gáis Kennedy Theatre on the 12th, the Cork Opera House on the 13th, and in the Ulster Hall, Belfast on the 25th. And we're going to play a little bit of one of his tracks. We'll have to mute on Facebook because of copyright reasons. But here is, I suppose, one of the songs everyone, finds so synonymous with him.
Is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Walk the line with the award-winning Johnny Cash and June Carter tribute show Cash Returns, live at the Everglades Hotel Derry on Saturday 24th of May. Tickets available on eventbrite.ie. That's Cash Returns at the Everglades Hotel Derry on Saturday 24th of May.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
This Friday is Guide Dog Day. At Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind, we need your support to change more lives. Visit guidedogs.ie to donate, join a Take the Lead walk, or be in with a chance to have dinner with Roy Keane. Guide Dog Day, sponsored by Park to Travel.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Summer is here and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all. Easy Living Furniture, luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
Looking for the ultimate school tour destination? Discover the largest family entertainment complex in the Northwest, Century Complex. Dive into fun with our soft play area, conquer the indoor crazy golf and enjoy a private cinema experience with packages available. Call 07491219976 to book your adventure today.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Get set for summer with all new arrivals dropping every week, from fashion to footwear and homeware to cosmetics. Discover more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
What a treat it was to speak to Leo Sayer. What a down-to-earth person. I think we could have been on that call all day, only for he has something to do, but also I had to move on. The weather, dry with sunny spells developing through today. Highest temperatures 15 to 19 degrees, coolest near northern coasts in light northerly. Tomorrow will start dry. There'll be spells of sunshine, though cloud will thicken from the west through the morning and afternoon with outbreaks of rain and drizzle developing. We do need, as lovely as this weather, we do need a bit of rain. It has to be said. I don't want it, but I do recognise we need it. I was chatting to some farmers though, and they want it on their terms. They want it to piddle rain tomorrow, stay dry to Monday, piddle rain Monday, stay dry to Thursday, just to help the land come on as best as possible. Right, imagine a loyalist behaving like Kneecap do, wearing a Union Jack balaclava. The UDA flag is not allowed to be carried in the parades as it's seen as a paramilitary organisation. The Parades Commission makes sure that there are no paramilitary flags in parades, says that listener. Why are so many tidy towns committees made up of people not from the locality? Why don't they have elections? If no local people are on these committees, it's not surprising their efforts are criticised. Well, are we that closed now? My word. We've always had people moving in and out of communities, and why can someone not come in and love your community as much as you do and help to make it better? New ideas, a fresh approach. I would welcome that. Having votes as to who will volunteer their time freely. Maybe, and I'm not even sure it's true what you're saying, but maybe they just have the drive and the time. Hi Greg, can we say good luck to the Ulster champions Donegal on Saturday evening? This is our home game. Let's get out and support and make sure we stand out. Let's bring it to Ballybofey on Saturday. Up Donegal. Right, okay, there's loads of preview and build up to that match on our website highlandradio.com. We'll have a chat about it on the show tomorrow as well. It's a biggie. It's Tyrone at home. Play Tyrone any day. Play them in Ballybofey. It's always a huge game. It's a round robin, of course, with two other games. Is it Mayo and Cavan? Oh, my word, I should know that. Is it Mayo? It is Mayo. It's definitely Mayo, anyway. You don't have to check that. I should know that. I've had a brain fart. But anyway, if we could get the points on the board at home to Tyrone, it leaves us in a really good stead for what could be a beautiful summer of sport. Right, that's where we leave it on the show today. We've got a packed show tomorrow. Looking forward to the Donegal game. We've got